Oh yeah. Large tornado. Look at the inflow over here.
Oh, you can see it. It's
ripping stuff up right here. Debris.
Well, this morning, a severe weather outbreak tears through the south. This massive wedge tornado carving a path of damage through eastern Mississippi, damaging mobile homes and flipping over a semi-truck. This is just one of more than 3 dozen tornadoes reported in this Easter Sunday outbreak. And early this morning near Chattanooga, Tennessee, reports of many buildings damaged along the Tennessee-Georgia border. The National Weather Service issuing a tornado emergency for this storm just east of Chattanooga in Cleveland, Tennessee. Reports of entrapments and injuries. The Weather Channel's Dave Malkoff is en route to the Chattanooga area. We'll have a live report later this morning. Welcome into AMHQ on this very busy Monday morning. I'm meteorologist Stephanie Abrams, joined by meteorologist Jen Carfagno. Jim Cantori will join us in about an hour. Plus, we're going to get an update from one of the hard-hit parts of Mississippi from meteorologist Mike Seidel a little later this morning. But first, we want to get right to the active severe weather because we still have tornado warnings being issued. And you see this huge line of storms right here that's going to be progressing east. By the way, I was just reading mesoscale discussion in eastern North Carolina. We could see watches posted there. But look at all these tornado warnings. And if there isn't tornado warnings, severe thunderstorm warnings and flash flood warnings on top of that. So there are multiple threats this morning. As we look at these tornado warnings, I want you also to remember that even if there isn't a tornado, just the wind energy from these things could cause damage. We've seen a lot of trees down with these tornado warnings. When you see these little notches, when you look for those, that's where, look at where it lines up. That is exactly where you're going to see those stronger winds. You have the, there we go, coming in. So we are going to have a couple areas along this as well of those winds that you can see are very, very strong here. You do have to watch for that rotation. When you do see a signature like this on the radar, and we're doing this live right now, so we're going to be jumping around to show you a couple things. The correlation coefficient right now does not show any debris signature. So right now, we're anticipating that this is rotation. But if you see rotation, oh, there you go, maybe a little blip blowing up there. If you see rotation, that means you need to seek shelter immediately because you could have a tornado at any moment. Now, a lot of these cells, if you look at them, they're moving 50, 55 miles an hour. They're moving very quickly. And obviously, there's a lot of rain associated with these two moving off to the north and the east. As we move off to the southwest, we have a tornado warning for Crisp and also into Wilcott County. Again, very heavy rain associated with these storms here. We have a broad rotation in this cell for us here. We'll continue to watch it. But if you have a warning, that means that a tornado is imminent or it's occurring. Again, moving off to the northeast, seek shelter immediately if you're in the path of the storm. Rochelle on into Abbeville. And as we zoom out even farther, even these severe thunderstorm warnings, as I mentioned, you could get hail out of these and then certainly damaging wind. There's a lot of lightning, a lot of convection, and it doesn't look like it's really going to stop. There's nothing to really slow this down for the next several hours. So watch as this entire line moves off to the east. Panama City coming into you at 4:06. Tallahassee just before the 6 o'clock hour is when it looks like you will have the worst of the weather. But then it continues because look at this. Our watch lasts until 11 a.m. So a wash means that the conditions are favorable for some spin-ups. We have that not only into Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, but North Carolina as well. We do have that threat for severe weather as this entire system is going to be shifting towards the I-95 corridor. So there you go. We do have our watch here until 12 p.m., a tornado watch here. That does include places like Raleigh, also Wilmington, all the way to the coast. You do have that threat for tornadoes, and it moves up 95 and heading into Richmond. So this is brand new. Remember I was saying just at the top of the show, reading the meso, that they might put a watch out. Well, there it is for you. There it is. So that lasts until noon. Now, on the backside of this, we have some flood advisories that are still posted. Very heavy rainfall continuing for this as we look anywhere from Roanoke all the way down towards Charlotte. Torrential rain, and you can see here into the Appalachians, multiple flash flood warnings and yet another tornado warning. It is nonstop here. Martinsville up towards Union Hall. We have a tornado warning right now. For the cities of Martinville, Franklin, Henry, this is until 5:30 Eastern time. Again, seek shelter immediately. A tornado warning are these smaller boxes here, and those are the ones that means there is rotation. Let's have a look at this one here. This is a broad rotation. We're going to zoom on down. It's very broad, but still, you know, you have that rotation. So what you need to do is, because we see that on the radar, if that rotation touches down, obviously, then we have a tornado, and that is possible with these thunderstorms. Moving off to the northeast, and a lot of them are moving so quickly that you're going to have very little time to react and get to your shelter, lowest level of your home. Now, with all this weather, it's taken out the power. Look at our outages. Over 1 million power outages right now. And Jen, this is not necessarily just because of the tornado damage and the severe thunderstorms. We also just have wide scale, what we call synoptic scale winds, just big time winds.
Just a windy day, and it's going to be very windy again today. So that's going to be one piece that we watch. But of course, the risk of severe, like we saw in Mississippi, just unbelievable images of widespread damage continue to pour into the Weather Channel this morning following a deadly and destructive day of storms yesterday. Thousands of people are without power in Mississippi, and this is extensive damage in Bassfield. The threat for more severe weather continues for several states today, and Steph outlined where that new watch area was. That's an area that is starting to become more unstable as we go through the next several hours. Watching right up here, right up across portions of the mid-Atlantic coast here, all the way up into Virginia, including around the Richmond area. We're going to be watching for that risk of thunderstorms, the potential for severe, the damaging wind threat, and there's going to be a couple of tornadoes as well through this area. You know, we still have this very strong flow coming out of the surface, that low-level jet too, and you know, all of this bringing up the moisture. Dew points are going up. There's more of a spring-like feel to the air when you step outside of Virginia right now, especially compared to yesterday. We've got thunderstorms with strong damaging winds as the most likely threat, but there is also all really modes of severe weather possible, and it does extend all along the eastern seaboard. The line to the south probably exiting a little quicker than up here up to the north. All right, so let's talk torcons and the risk for severe weather in terms of tornadoes. We've got a 5 on the torcon in eastern North Carolina and then eastern parts of Virginia, right into this zone right here, and the numbers go down as you go just off to the west of there. But, you know, watching these storms this morning, they all have had the potential to rotate, right? We've been watching them, the ones that have, you know, there's been a lot of wind damage, watching this line, and we just watch for embedded cells along the line that we do see some rotation, and we'll see that as we get through the morning, exiting the coast, Charleston, Savannah by lunchtime. We still have some thunderstorms lingering a little bit beyond that here into eastern North Carolina. And then up here to the north, let's talk about what's going on here. You've had the rain already. We start to get into the thunderstorms into Pennsylvania, into Maryland, into Delaware, into South Jersey. There is a chance we could see some severe weather up here. It's just going to be a windy day in general, though, you know, whether or not a thunderstorm is the reason for that wind. So be ready for that to potentially bring some small tree limbs down. And keep an eye on these cells back here, just out ahead of the front, as we watch later on this morning into the afternoon. By about 1 o'clock, lunchtime or so, you can see up towards eastern Pennsylvania. Those cells come through eastern PA and down through eastern Maryland, the Virginia, northern Virginia area, and the D.C. Delmarva region too. By about 2, 3 o'clock, we get a few more showers at the end of it all. But you know, by this point, and this is 6 o'clock, everything is moving off to the east, Steph.
All right, so we want to show you what's happening here just south of Augusta, because even though this just looks like it's kind of a squall line, they can actually cause tornadoes. Now, tornado sirens blaring in the early morning in North Georgia. This is in Woodstock. Just some rain and wind here, but you should not just rely on those sirens. Those sirens are really only if you're outdoors. Make sure you have multiple ways to get your alerts as the severe weather threat continues today. Turn your phone alerts on and keep a weather radio handy, of course. Keep us here at the Weather Channel. You hear those very, very eerie, those sirens there. Now, we do have a tornado warning. Again, this line might look kind of like, oh, it doesn't look like those supercells that are just all by themselves popping up. It looks more like a squall line. Well, there's this thing called QLCS, and basically, say that again, Greg? Oh, I'm driving this here. Okay. So this line of storms, you're going to see little notches. So you kind of look for an S shape along these lines in order to identify where the bad weather is. Look at our inflows coming into these, right? So we do have a tornado warning, and look at that right there. We have rotation along this line, and that's what you're going to see. They're going to be embedded in this line. So remember, red means winds are going away from the radar, green means toward. And so red away, green towards. You see how you get that rotation there for you? And you can see another one down there. So again, look for these little notches coming in to these storms. Now, as we look at the correlation coefficient, what we're looking for really here is a blue dot. That would give us a debris signature on that. We did not technically see that, but there is rotation. It is radar indicated tornado moving off to the east. A lot of these cells moving 50, 60 miles an hour. And we want to time it out for the I-95 corridor because you guys are up next and you've got to get ready for this strong line coming through Columbia this morning. 95 is going to be right over 95 around between that 8, let's say 9 o'clock hour. Myrtle Beach, Charleston, you are going to be in the threat zone until we head towards that lunchtime hour. We'll see those showers and those thunderstorms. How about Raleigh? Right now, all's quiet, but looks what's just off to our west. There is a tornado warning just off to our west. Severe thunderstorm warning here just off to our west. And this is until 5:30 local time. Greg, I'll let you take this over here. Greensboro is in that high point, is just to the south. And you see Winston-Salem as well. This tornado warning is until 5:30 local time, so seek shelter immediately if you're within this. Again, it's a weak rotation, but you can see that there is some rotation within this cell. And what we're doing is we're switching our radars, right, to show you the rain and then show you also the winds within the thunderstorm. That's what this is showing us. This is a weak rotation, but there's still rotation. So that means that you need to seek shelter because any sort of rotation is bad news when it comes to these cells. All right, it's moving northeast at 60. That's the other problem, is that these things are booking. Why are they booking? We have this very powerful low-level jet that is just pumping these things, moving them right along here into the south. And so Wahlberg all the way up to Summerfield, you need to seek shelter immediately with this rotation. All right, so back to Raleigh, Cary, Chapel Hill, Durham. You're going to get it this morning, and we could have some of those individual cells spinning up tornadoes, and if not, even just strong damaging winds. I've seen a lot of trees down due to all the strong winds associated with this. Now, it will take days to sort out the number and strength of the Easter Sunday tornadoes. We can tell you around 40 tornadoes have been reported from Texas to Tennessee. Focus for a moment on that cluster in southern Mississippi. That's where much of the catastrophic damage has occurred. New this morning, the tornado outbreak and severe thunderstorms have killed at least 13 people across 3 states.
Is it coming this way?
A pair of long-track tornadoes tear through south-central Mississippi. Catastrophic damage in communities north of Hattiesburg, like these homes gutted in the small town of Soso. Metal wrapped around trees, evidence of the tornado's muscle.
But you could hear it, and we knew that it was going to be bad.
Even Soso's fire station got hit.
The fire department there is essentially demolished. Several businesses there are pretty much gone or severely damaged.
Storm shelters opened across Mississippi. Evacuees struggling to practice social distancing. The Easter Sunday rampage kicked off in northern Louisiana. Willie Lattin Jr.'s home of South Shreveport got hit.
When I seen the rain coming in sideways, and then I could hear on this side of my ear, I could hear the tornado making rumbling noises. So I went in the bathroom and took shelter.
East of Shreveport, some 300 homes damaged in Monroe, Louisiana.
Lord Jesus. My boy house gone, man. It's gone.
Tyrone Dickens still has a front door in his house in Monroe, but not much else. The line of fierce storms drove east throughout the day Sunday. They left damage scattered around Birmingham in northern Alabama.
All of a sudden it just calms down to nothing, and the next thing you know, just high winds that you can't really get away from.
Now, the governors of Mississippi and Louisiana have declared states of emergency following the tornado outbreak. Jen.
This morning, we also just have a very windy day. Look at this, 38 million people under wind alerts. More than 20 states will be blasted by the gusts. In the Windy City, winds could gust 30, 35, even 45 miles per hour. In the East Coast, Boston, brace yourself and start charging everything. Gusts could reach hurricane force. We are expecting power outages. We talk more about these winds today. And this is outside of thunderstorms, just synoptic scale winds. We have a very strong low pressure, and that's going to mean a lot of wind energy from the Great Lakes to the Midwest right into portions of the Northeast. All right, so let's look at the situation today, because what we have going on is we've got really strong southerly winds coming up out ahead of our storm system. That's bringing up the instability into our thunderstorms. But behind everything, we've got strong northwesterly flow coming in. That's helping to knock down your temperatures. Rockford, Illinois, when that front came through, you had winds gusting and you had temperatures dropping about, 15 degrees. So that cold air is coming in as well as you get those stronger winds picking up from the west. But we are going to be watching watching for, as this low tracks up like this to the north and east, we are going to be watching for these winds to really ramp up today. I mean, already we're gusting to about 24 miles per hour in Philadelphia, gusting Binghamton close to 30. Watch for the winds to be on the increase. So look at the forecast. I mean, we're going to see gusts anywhere from 40 to 50 miles per hour. Looking through the afternoon, you look at the northeast and you look at Boston, 60 to 75 mile per hour wind gusts. 75 miles per hour is hurricane force. So we will be looking at power outages. Make sure you charge everything, your cell phone, your laptop, whatever you need to work from home if you can today. And make sure your refrigerator is set at the coldest setting, Steph. I know a lot of people have food, right, that they need to make sure they keep safe.
That it is. Well, we continue to follow this strong line of storms this morning. We want to take you right back to the active radar. I mean, we have tornado warnings that are stretching right now anywhere from Virginia all the way back down into Georgia. We're going to get into a few of them right now. We will continue to keep you updated. Again, this is in North Carolina. We've been following this cell. Remember, we saw that rotation. This is showing the reflectivity, right? All the rain that's coming down with this. We can also show you the winds that we are dealing with. And there it is. It's actually tightening up a little bit more than it was before. All right. So this is showing us that the red are the winds going away from the radar. That blue-green is going towards. And so that's why we know we have rotation. They're moving very fast, these cells, 50 up to 60 miles an hour. Seek shelter immediately in Colfax, Summerfield, up towards Baker's Crossroads. And widespread damage in Alabama after destructive storms barreled through yesterday. This is in Sayre, Alabama. There is debris. Look at that. I mean, almost as far as the eye can see. Homes, vehicles, damage to destroyed. Thousands of people are dealing with power outages, and the threat for severe weather is not over just yet. And Jen, it is not just the thunderstorms. You see, they went right into cleanup mode, but we also have just a massive system stretching from the Great Lakes to the northeast to the south. That alone is causing damaging winds, and that's part of why things are so bad.
Well, exactly. We're going to have a windy day in general. You know, debris, lawn chairs, etc., that you didn't secure in the northeast. Be aware. It's going to get tossed around in the kind of winds you will see today outside of thunderstorms. Then we get into the thunderstorms, and this morning we're still watching severe weather ongoing. It's been ongoing all night long, and this storm system here, let's take you into the warnings that we have lined up right along this line. There's severe thunderstorm and there are tornado. We go to a new tornado warning down into South Georgia for Mitchell and Worth County, Bokenton, Bridgeboro, and Poulin, and you can see right into here is where we have the circulation right in here. It's still broad at this point, but this is something that we will continue to watch as we watch this area. I mean, these storms have been racing along, moving very fast. They've also been bringing with them a lot of rain, too, so you will not necessarily be able to see anything. If you get under a warning, right away take shelter into your safe area. Interior room, basement if you have it, but if you don't, interior bathroom or closet is the place to be. Now, up here into Dodge, Telfair, and Wilcox counties, there is a warning for Abbeville and Milan and Rhine. This goes into 5:45 local time. This area right in here, it's a little elongated in terms of the apparent rotation based on Doppler radar, but these storms are evolving. They're moving quick. You know, every radar scan will something just a little bit different. So watching for some strong winds with this one, just some strong winds, I think, out ahead of it in general, the inflow coming into the storm, you will notice that. All right, then we jump up to Aiken, Barnwell, and Burke County up here into, this is Georgia, into North Carolina state line right in here. So watching this particular cell around Snelling and Williston, these storms are racing off to the north and east, moving very fast. This one here moving at up over highway speed, and you can see right in here, this is the area that we are watching for that apparent rotation. So again, watching these storms, seek shelter within them, because if you are under this warning, you will not see it coming. Don't depend on sirens. When you get the warning, whether it's on your phone or you see it scrolling on the Weather Channel, make sure that you seek shelter. Tornado watch continues until 11 o'clock this morning across this area. The new watch that went into effect right up here, which includes Southeast Virginia and then eastern and central North Carolina. This goes until noon local time. The storms are moving through very fast, yes, but you need to be ready for them because they're moving in very fast as well. We've got that chance of thunderstorms that extends all the way up into Pennsylvania. And the most likely area for severe is from central Virginia and points southward. But we are going to be watching for storms, potentially with hail, damaging winds, and just a windy day in general here across Pennsylvania. So either way, you could see some damage, some power outages with some tree limbs coming down and some power lines coming down too, Steph.
All right, an ominous sight caught on camera in Laurel, Mississippi yesterday. Look at that. Sirens blaring in the background as intense storms churned. These damaging storms turned deadly as they tore through neighborhoods. But just look how big that is. And here's just some of the aftermath from that deadly and dangerous outbreak Sunday. Some homes are flattened, debris tossed about, leaving a chaotic scene. Mississippi, not the only state dealing with severe weather yesterday. Let's have a look back, because we have had over 36 reports of tornadoes. Now, what will happen is the National Weather Service will have to go out and assess all the damage and determine the strength of the tornado, the path, was it straight line winds, that type of a thing, and how many tornadoes we actually had, because sometimes you get multiple reports. But we did have this path. Remember those two tornadoes, those two monster tornadoes, actually, that were going through southern Mississippi. And here's a look at them. It was just incredible to see these two monsters going about basically the same path at the exact same time, both of these being called tornado emergencies. Look at one right there and one right there, almost the exact same path. It was just remarkable. This is not something that you see all the time. Now, if we go over towards Shreveport, Louisiana, back towards Dallas in Texas, we had hail and damaging winds. Shreveport, there's a reported tornado, multiple reported tornadoes here into northern Louisiana, crossing over to Mississippi. Those were the ones that a lot of people had their jaw on the floor about. And then it made its way over into Alabama, where we had multiple reports of tornado, into Georgia as well. And then don't forget the upper level part of the system, bringing the wind, the hail, and the rain too. And now we're watching the tornado warnings along this line here, stretching from Virginia all the way back down into Georgia. So our reports here, as we look into Tennessee and Georgia, we have a crew headed to this damage right here. And as you can see, into northern Georgia and Alabama, we did have that damage as well. Cleveland, we had multiple entrapments reported there, and up towards Chattanooga there, we also had some structural damage. So nearly 300 reports of severe weather you can see over multiple states here throughout the South. And obviously this was a tremendously active day. Speaking of active weather, let's get right to it and show you that active weather and where we have the worst of it right now. And there it is again, Virginia, right on the border, Virginia, North Carolina. We actually have 3 tornado warnings in a row. Seek shelter immediately if you are in any of these tornado warnings. Eden, seek shelter. Again, a tornado warning means a tornado is imminent or it's occurring. We're showing you the heavy rain that could be basically stopping you being able to see these tornadoes, right? They could be rain wrapped, very hard to see. Franklin, Henry, Pittsylvania counties seek shelter. They're all moving very fast, 50, 60 miles an hour. And welcome back into AMHQ. We want to take you to Boone, North Carolina right now, and this is where we do have a flash flood emergency. And according to the National Weather Service, this is a particularly dangerous situation. You need to seek higher ground now. Obviously not right here in downtown Boone, but in other areas. We've experienced heavy rainfall, and that rain is gone now. But obviously, there is very high waters here into Boone. So we can show you that flash flood emergency again. Even though the rain is gone, does not mean that the flash flood emergency just goes away. So there's Boone, North Carolina. There are your heavy showers right there. But look at this. Multiple housing areas being evacuated. As I mentioned, the National Weather Service calling this a particularly dangerous situation, a PDS, flash flood warning. So it's in the Bamboo Road, Dealfield Road along New River. You notice that's right along a river. You get that water and those rivers go up quick. Back to our tornado warnings, because these are popping off and they continue. This is North Carolina, Virginia. This is our border right here. Okay. So we do have a tornado warning that is straddling the border of North and South Carolina. Seek shelter immediately. As we show you the rotation here, it's very broad, but we do have that rotation. So again, oh, there we go. This is probably a little bit clearer there for you. There's our rotation right there, just into Eden. If you're here, get to the lowest level of your home, most interior section of your home. We're showing you the wind, okay, and the direction the winds are going. Red means away, green means towards the radar, and that's that spin. You can take a pen, red away, green towards, and you see how you get that spin in the atmosphere. Now, a lot of these cells are moving off to the north-northeast. Why is that? We have this crazy strong low-level jet right now. It's going all the way up, all the way into the northeast is going to cause strong winds. So that's what's causing all these storms move in this direction, even though our whole line is moving off to the east. Severe thunderstorm warnings. Now, what can happen is with this strong low-level jet, I mean, our winds are cranking. You can get a thunderstorm to bubble up, grab some of those stronger winds and bring them down to the surface. And so that really exacerbates the situation. So you could have wind damage in places like Charlotte, Rock Hill, Winston-Salem, anywhere you have these severe thunderstorm warnings. Watch out, because Charlotte gusted to, what was it, 70 miles an hour just recently, Greg? Is my memory correct on that one? Charlotte was to 70 miles an hour. I just want to make sure I got the city right there. So here we go down south of Dublin. We do have that tornado warning into Chauncey and Milan. Watch out again. This is southern Georgia for you. We are seeing a lot of rain with these too, so it might be blinding and you can't actually see it. You see this little, look for those, right? Watch for these winds to be bowing out for us. Again, here's our line. It's going to be pressing east. Now remember, we have tornado watches in effect till 11, 12 o'clock here. So watch as this whole system moves east. We still have, upper level trough off to the west of it. But I mean, through 8 a.m., we're going to be hitting the Outer Banks, and then it's going to be clearing the southeast coast come around lunchtime. But all the way into the northeast, we still see strong storms. And that's not really the end of it, Jen, because I can't emphasize enough the stronger synoptic scale winds that are going to be cranking with this thing.
Well, exactly. And expecting some wind damage because of this. This is our third big wind event in about 3 weeks. So we say good morning to you in the Big Apple. You're under a high wind warning until 6 this evening, and wind gusts could clock as high as 65 miles per hour. This is not with a thunderstorm. This is just because it's going to be windy, but there will be some rain at the same time as well. We break down everything happening for you. We got a lot of wind advisories that are posted all across the Great Lakes, the Ohio Valley, the Tennessee Valley, the Southeast, the Northeast. I mean, look, everyone under some type of wind alert. We got the high wind warnings here right along the eastern seaboard, including down through South Jersey and Dover, Delaware, up through Long Island. We've got very strong winds up to Boston. You can see hurricane force winds today, 75 miles per hour. And let me time it out for you, because first we have the south wind, and that's going to be out ahead of our front. We keep that for most of the day. Steph talked about that strong low level jet. That brings up a lot of the instability, but it's also going to bring a lot of wind energy as well. So look at your forecast. Lunchtime winds about 50 to 60 miles per hour. Philadelphia, New York City, Boston. We get into that kind of wind about this afternoon. That will take down trees. You will be losing power up here in spots across the Northeast. Be ready for it. Keep everything charged today, your cell phone, your laptops, whatever you need to work from home perhaps. And also make sure your refrigerator is set at a cold setting, your freezer as well, so that your food can stay until that power gets back on. Then we jump back to the Midwest, and here it's about a wind coming in from the west. So now we're on the back edge of the system. The cold air is coming in for us here across this area, but the winds are going to be, almost as gusty, 35, 40 miles per hour. We'll see this all across lower Michigan and Ohio. And as we get through today, got to keep an eye on Lake Erie. We could have some pretty strong winds blowing that water, and that can end up causing what we call a seiche, what we were watching for, perhaps some flooding damage on that top end of Lake Erie. And of course, thunderstorms remain, though, our #1 goal this morning, with watching for the warnings, making sure you are aware of where you need to take shelter. We have a radar confirmed tornado right now. Aiken, Barnwell, Burke counties are under this particular tornado warning. So seek shelter in this area. Basement if you have it. If not, interior room, away from outside walls and windows.
Starkville, Mississippi residents inside this crowded tornado shelter yesterday trying to maintain a safe social distance from each other. Hundreds of homes and structures were damaged when deadly storms ripped through on the Easter holiday. Many people inside the shelter did wear face masks, trying to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Now, we want to take you right out to our radar, because we do still have multiple tornado warnings as our entire line pushes east. You can see they extend from Georgia on into South Carolina, North Carolina, and Virginia as well. So we're going to start on the southern edge of this. Now, this is where we do have a lot of rain. This is showing you the reflectivity, right? The radar goes around, hits those hydrometers at rain, bounces back, and it shows us the rain here. We can also look at the winds as well to see the winds going away from the radar and towards the radar, and that gives us an indication here of maybe some rotation. So perhaps we get a little rotation right here, but right now we just have this broad rotation going on in the thunderstorms here into southern Georgia. All right, so that's a look at the storms. Everything moving off to the east. A lot of these storms moving 50, 55, 60 miles an hour. Now, as we take you up here towards just north of Jacksonville, multiple severe thunderstorm warnings and our tornado warning until 5:45 local time. Again, a lot of rain, and then we can switch our radar to see if we can get a better look at what's happening here with this system. And again, we still have that broad rotation for us in this tornado warning. A tornado warning, when they see that broad rotation, that's why they warn on it, because if that tighten up and touches the ground, you got a tornado. So seek shelter if you're in any of these tornado warnings for us, because you could have a tornado in seconds. So now we take you into South Carolina to show you the tornado warnings that we have here. Again, there's a lot of action on the radar. We're going to zoom in thanks, Greg. And so this is a tighter rotation. You see how that's much more well-defined than what we were just showing you. So seek shelter immediately, lowest level, most interior section of your room. This is bad news, okay? This is yet another radar that we're showing you. It's called dual pole. And what that can show us is if there's debris. And when the correlation coefficient shows up as blue like this, that's an indication that there is debris. So you need to seek shelter right now if you are in the path of these. Looks like we have 2 sets of rotation coming in for us here along these lines. And again, it's a little blurry when you're just looking at your radar. So keep it tuned to the Weather Channel so we can show you all the different radars. We can translate them and read them to you, because you can get a little bit of wind coming in on some of the backside and it can spin these cells up. But again, here is where we do have that line moving off to the north and the east. A lot of these storms putting down very heavy rainfall. We've seen, blinding rain, 3-5 inches of rain out of some of these storms before all is said and done. So again, seek shelter, lowest level of your home. Jen.
All right, so we could get thunderstorms in the northeast as well. I want to talk about, though, the rain that we are going to see first. It's just a steady rain. We're still waiting for the warm front to push north of this area, and that will bring in some instability. I do think we'll get into some thunderstorms later on today, and even this morning. There's a couple of rumbles of thunder, a little lightning out here just to the east of Baltimore and Washington, but none of these are severe. What we're watching for right now is, of course, lightning, always a risk. The rain has been steady, light to moderate around Philadelphia and up towards southeast New England at the moment. Watch through the afternoon. So we get all of this warm air and higher dew points, too, to push north into the area. So I do think there could be some rumbles of thunder once we get past lunchtime. And then we see the cold front come through out ahead of it. In this atmosphere, there is a chance that we could get some wind damage out of thunderstorms. The chance that we could get a few spin-ups is not out of the question for you across this area, although the higher risk for severe weather is further south, where Steph was just talking about. Then by the time we get into this evening, overnight, everything exits. We finally can breathe a sigh of relief. This has been a very tough last 36 really to 48 hours with active weather. Now, there is a chance that we will get too much rain. I mean, for the most part, the flash flood guidance is not going to be met, but there is a chance that you could get these repeated rounds of steady rain today, and that could add up to some creeks coming out of their banks, watching for ponding of water on the roadways, storm drains that have debris could be clogging up, and that could cause some issues when it comes to any flash flooding. Of course, most of the rainfall for the course of the past several months has been in the south. The northeast, we've been a little bit dry here, but from Ohio into Pennsylvania, we've had our fair share of rain, so we don't need any more at the moment. Steph, we'll be concerned about too much at once.
And by the way, on the backside of this thing, it's snow. Look at the flurry of flakes that are flying in Minnesota yesterday, while signs of spring are blossoming in other parts of the country. Still looks like winter in Bear Lake. Up to 8 inches of snow fell in this area, and there's more to come. Someone in the UP of Michigan sent me some video yesterday on Twitter, and he said they also got about 8 inches of snow, and I believe it. Look at our totals here the past couple of days. I mean, we've seen, over a foot in some locations. And, we were talking about this just last week. It was like, don't forget, we're going to see some snow on the backside of this Denver as well. There's what's left of the snow coming through Green Bay and also here into the UP of Michigan. And there is our big front, our big cooler air behind this. All right. That's just diving southbound here. Ahead of it, you have a southerly flow for you. So that means warmer temperatures, 10 to 20 above average. And then behind it, we're going to see some temperatures 30 degrees above average. Remember, we couldn't buy a cool day? It felt like for all of winter, we couldn't buy a single cool day that was barely below average. All right, so we do have a little bit of snow still lingering here into places like Texas, New Mexico, also into Colorado. Let's show you how it's going to shape up through the day today. And we'll see it, give a little burst. A little extra burst, so it's not going to be ending anytime soon. We have a little of that energy coming on through, but it does look like by Tuesday, it's going to quiet down, Jen. Overall, higher elevations obviously get the most.
Yeah, still tracking thunderstorms this morning, Steph, severe weather and tornadoes. We've got this tornado warning active for us into South Carolina. This is where it is a radar confirmed tornado or tornadoes. There's 2 areas of damage that is showing up on our radar. The correlation coefficient is where we look to see, is there any damage showing on radar? And you can see 2 spots, one to the north of Williston, one to the south. So those are the 2 areas we are watching right now. If you're in any of this vicinity, seek shelter immediately. The Cherokee Sheriff's Office posting this picture earlier this morning of storm damage in Georgia. A section of Highway 372 has been shut down due to that large tree right over the road. The tree landed on a vehicle, but thankfully the driver was not injured. Officials are asking people to avoid the area so they can clear the road. And there is a lot of cleanup actually to be done after thunderstorms. And we're still in active mode right now, tracking thunderstorms ongoing. We are continuing to watch tornado warnings and severe thunderstorm warnings from the southeast right up into parts of the mid-Atlantic, including into Virginia. So getting into it right now, watching these two particular cells in South Carolina. All right, so in Williston and just to the east of there right now is where we're watching this tightening circulation. Blackville, Springfield, Williston, you're still under that tornado warning. It does look like it's all pushing now to the east of Williston. Here's the circulation that we are watching. And there was two areas of apparent circulation actually in about the last 15 minutes. Now it looks like it's this one right here taking over as the main area. And we'll keep watch, though, because there has been debris confirmed based on radar. Look at this. You can see the two areas. Let's go jump it back one more time. One north and one area just off to the south right there. So you can see how that is now moved up to the north and east. It's moving at about 45 miles per hour. Seek shelter in this area. Storm cell again moving to the north and east. We're tracking it to Springfield 555, north 610, Swansea at 614. Again, these things are moving fast. Again, that at 45 miles per hour. These storms off to the south even a little bit faster. So we take you into Bamberg, Barnwell, and Denmark under a tornado warning. Seek shelter here, interior room, putting as many walls between you and the outside as possible. Interior bathroom, interior closet, a good place to be if you don't have a basement. A basement would be the best place to be. Then we take you up here into the north. Let's jump up to Asheboro, where there, Cedar Grove and Siler City, you are under a tornado warning until 6:15 local time. You'll notice too that there's a lot of rain that these circulations are embedded in. There's a lot of rain, there's general wind with the thunderstorms, and then there are these circulations that are prompting the tornado warnings. So right here, you can see it just north of the Asheboro area, right in there. We are looking at that apparent circulation right. Let me clear that and get you right in there. Watching for these quick spin ups to potentially evolve too. They could touch down, they could lift up. And so what you need to be ready for is literally everything. If you're under tornado warning, you seek shelter. You don't wait till you see a tornado because you really won't be able to with the amount of rain that we have going on here. All right, looking at tracking this cell off to the north and east, Kimesville 612, Rock Creek, it is 617 that is in your area. And Steph, another big risk with these thunderstorms is going to be just the damaging winds coming out of them.
Oh my God. It's about to go.
You can see that the roof of a shed was ripped off. This is in San Angelo, Texas. Top gusts recorded in San Angelo Sunday, 52 miles an hour. The city also getting drenched with an inch of rain. Now, it's not only these individual severe thunderstorms, but also just a large-scale system, just a huge system that we have bringing snow to the south side and storms ahead of it. We're seeing just tremendous winds from that alone. Now, one of the reasons we're having the severe weather outbreak and we've seen those 60, 70 mile an hour winds out of this is because we have this low-level jet that is screaming all the way up the East Coast. And that's why all of our cells are moving off to the northeast. They're feeling that and getting taken in that direction. Now, here's the thing. You get a thunderstorm to grow like this, and we have those stronger winds up here. Guess what happens? An updraft comes up, grabs some of these winds, brings them down to the surface. So that's one of the reasons that we are seeing significant damage and damaging winds with these cells. There it is, voila, right? So you have these winds that are just screaming ahead of this, and we are going to see damaging wind threat here. Look how wide that is. This is not just thunderstorm wind damage. We're talking large-scale wind damage. And what can that do? Well, that can take down power lines. That can take down trees. You can get straight-line wind damage, right? And they can be actually more damaging than some EF0, EF1 tornadoes. Straight line winds just as damaging, I should say. So once you get up to 58, 74 miles an hour, you're talking severe limits. That's when you can see tree limbs breaking. This is going to last really until the lunchtime hour into the southeast. But guess what? The winds are going to be sticking around here. And we still have storms in the northeast lasting at least until the evening hour. Jen.
Yeah, even outside of thunderstorms, it's just going to be a windy day with the same kind of damage that Steph was describing. winds 45, close to 60 miles per hour, and that will take down some tree limbs, even some small trees. Everywhere in a high wind warning. That's the brightest purple. Worried about those strongest winds, and perhaps in excess of 50 or even 60 miles per hour. Boston, reports today or concerns today that we could get up to 75 miles per hour. That's hurricane force. So yes, we will have some tree damage. We will have some wind damage. We will have power lines coming down. Be ready to lose power. So everything that you need to do, make sure that your phones are charged, your laptops are charged. If you have a generator, make sure it's set up, of course, outside so that you can be good to go and ready to use it as we get into the afternoon. Let me look at these winds. It's going to be all day that we see winds gusting over 40 to 50 miles per hour, if not over 60 miles per hour, looking at southeast New England, including around Boston and eastern Massachusetts. 8 o'clock tonight, we're still windy. It's lessening up a little bit here from, say, Pittsburgh to Pennsylvania. Once we get behind the front, it's still windy, but it's not as gusty, I think, as it will be ahead of the front today, especially because of that very strong low-level jet stuff that will be just feeding in throughout the day.
Yeah, absolutely. That low-level jet is playing a huge role in this. Now we want to take you back to our severe thunderstorm warnings and tornado warnings that we have for you. And we're going to start you off here as we look at Columbia. Very heavy rainfall, by the way. That's another thing. There has been multiple water rescues going on with the heavy rain. Tornado warnings as we look down towards Springfield, also into Bamberg and Barnwell. Seek shelter immediately if you're in a tornado warning.
Oh, yeah. Large tornado. Look at the inflow over here. Oh, you can see it. It's ripping stuff up right here. Debris.
And this morning, a severe weather outbreak tears through the south. This massive wedge tornado carving a path of damage through eastern Mississippi, damaging mobile homes and flipping over semi-trucks. This is just one of more than 3 dozen tornadoes reported in this Easter Sunday outbreak. A new video into the Weather Channel. The Chattanooga Metro under a tornado emergency overnight, taking down power lines. A web of wires draped over the roads. Crews there at East Brainerd Road and Stratman Circle trying to clean up. They are all asking everyone to stay home and avoid the area. Well, things have not slowed down. If you were following yesterday, it is still cranking out there. I'm meteorologist Stephanie Abrams alongside meteorologists Jim Cantor and Jen Carfagno as we track the severe weather. Plus, we'll get an update, a live update from meteorologist Mike Seidel later this morning, who is in Mississippi, that had 2 just mammoth monster tornadoes following almost the exact same path yesterday. So what are we seeing this morning? Well, the setup looks a little bit different, Jim, as we look at the radar today.
It does, but we're watching storms advance through the Carolinas. We don't have to wait for the warm, moist air to come north. It's already in place. So as the dynamics catch up with it, we're pretty much Katie bar the door from Virginia all the way down to the Gulf Coast. So let's get into this. You can see the area that we're talking about. Just one continuous squall line with a few breaks on that line as well. And unfortunately, those breaks are where we have the problems, especially up in South Carolina and down to southern Georgia. Let's focus in on these because we do have 2 tornadoes on the ground currently. We've had storms that have moved up through Williston and Springfield and now seem like they're trying to merge in this one area. You kind of look at this and you're like, well, there's kind of this one little ball just kind of sitting here down to the south. Is that something? Let's look at a different mode of the radar. This is kind of taking a look at the rotation within that. There certainly could be 2 circulations, one there and another one back off toward the west. Let's see if there's some debris with this. We call the radar that just went to the TVS, all right, and there are. You can see both of those tornado debris signatures right there. All right, they're just west of Nessus and east of Springfield. Will these merge? Who knows? But the fact that we have 2 tornadoes on the ground as we speak is very, very evident here west of Nice. You can see, let's go ahead and do these individually, G-Dime. So Nice is about 605. So this is with the second one. All right, the first one's potentially already near you. Wolfton, 615. Staley Crossroads, about 619. Hammond Crossroads, about 625. Going back and kind of looking at this, a lot of this rain wrap, you're not going to be able to see these. Take cover, let them move through. Now, to the south of that, we had another storm developing back down just to the east of Barnwell. So this is Bamberg, Barnwell, and Orangeburg counties. Again, this is still South Carolina. Looking at this mode of it, you can see a little loop here, and that's probably the tornado right there just to the west of Bamberg. Let's take a look at the tornado debris signature, the dropout right in this area, which there is one, just to the west of Denmark. So if you're watching us from Denmark, that's debris debris showing up. And this is the storm that's moving right over the top of you at about 45 miles per hour and through here. Again, very dangerous storms. Let's head south because you can see all three of the tornado debris signatures right there. When you look at just the reflectivity, very, very hard to tell where the actual tornado part of those are. All right, we head south again. Looks like we're just into Georgia now. Looks like a little hook appendage right there. Allendale, Hampton, Shrevin counties. Let's take a look at, again, the storm relative velocities to see what is rotating in through here. And there it is. All right, little couplet right there near Newington, just to the north of Newington. Do we have debris, Greg Diamond? Let's go ahead and just move to that mode. We don't. So that's the difference in the ones that I showed you in South Carolina and the one that's coming south. But they're strong enough rotation and giving the atmosphere here. Don't be surprised if this thing tornadoes very, very soon. It actually has probably the best hook on it out of all four that I've showed you now. All right, we take you down into southern Georgia, Fitzgerald, Lenox. See a big little bend in the hook and through here. Something's coming in to this little line. So something potentially right here, Berrien and Irwin counties. You can see this tight little gate-to-gate shear just east of 319. That's where we have the tornado possibly on the ground. Let's take a look and see if we have a debris signature showing up here. We do. All right, there it is. So another tornado on the ground to the south of Osceola. That is moving on to the northeast as well at about 40 miles per hour. So can't recall, guys, a morning that I've worked where we've actually had 4 tornado debris signatures with storms that we've covered. So that just tells you how potent the morning is and the atmosphere is in this area. No sense in these things quieting down anytime soon. Take cover, heed these warnings. Again, we've had several confirmed tornadoes already this morning, and there's no reason to believe why this threat shouldn't continue right through the tornado watch areas, which, Jen, go all the way to the coast.
Yeah, I mean, this is an unusual time, Jim, a time of day, I should say, for a lot of these areas to be getting into some of this. We saw it yesterday in Mississippi, and just unbelievable images of widespread damage continue to pour into the Weather Channel this morning following a deadly and destructive day of storms yesterday. Thousands of people are without power in Mississippi, and this extensive damage is in Bassfield. The threat for more severe weather continues for several states today. Jim talking about those active warnings right now in Georgia, in South Carolina, in North Carolina, and Virginia. And I want to show you the forecast because we do have watches. We have tornado watches that are lined up. They extend all the way up into Southeast Virginia. And, you know, in this zone through lunchtime, we're still going to be watching for thunderstorms. They're moving off the coast a little earlier in the south. All modes of severe weather are likely. Most likely is going to be severe wind damage as well as that threat for tornadoes. And so you've got, you know, the storms this morning that are coming through the south and east up to the north. It's just going to be a really windy day as well, which we'll talk about, on top of the fact that we've got thunderstorms with strong wind potential as well as the potential for rotation, a 5 on the Torcon in eastern North Carolina. Watching the storms come through right now, and then in the Raleigh Triangle area, you know, this morning is your time frame. You can see how they move east by the time we get to about 9 o'clock there. I-95, it's, you know, just soon after that, say about to 9, 10 o'clock. And then off the coast by the time we get to 2 or 3 o'clock this afternoon. So by then, we'll be able to give you the all clear. Let's go up to the north, though. And here we're going to have a bit of a different day. We're still watching some of the instability, the warmer air surge north. We'll see the rain in place here across eastern Pennsylvania, Jersey, New York, Long Island, up all across the tri-state. But then watch what happens as we get into, let's say, late morning, early afternoon. Thunderstorms start firing up back here across northern Virginia, the D.C. area, central Pennsylvania, eastern Pennsylvania. There is the chance that some of these could go severe. Damaging wind, again, just a windy day, but yes, damaging wind with thunderstorms possible. Isolated risk of a tornado up here as well. Doesn't really get out of the area until about 6 o'clock tonight. You can see by then we start to lose all the, all the activity off the coast. So the Torcons up across this zone, a 3 into Pennsylvania, southern New York, it's a 2. Be ready. A lot of active weather across the area today. And then tomorrow, you know, we don't get the front all the way through. So we keep a resurgence of thunderstorms potentially refiring back up across northern Florida or southeastern Georgia. Steph.
And those are tornado sirens blaring in the early morning in North Georgia. This is Woodstock. Just some rain and wind here, but you should not rely on those tornado sirens. They're really actually just meant to alert people that are outside. You always want to make sure you have multiple ways to get your alerts if severe weather does threat, and it does threaten us today. So keep your phones alert, maybe your weather radio, and of course, keep it here to the Weather Channel. And one reason that we'd love for you to stay with us is because we can show you different types of radar that can show you different things. If you're just looking at this on your phone, you might think, oh, that's just a squall line, probably has some strong winds. It's probably a whole lot of nothing. Well, let me tell you, it's a whole lot of something right now because As we switch to different radars, we can show you, we have, our eye can pick out, oh, we have some winds coming in with this. We see little notches forming on these cells, right? So there's a look at our line. And again, we do have these advisories posted all the way from Virginia down into Georgia. And we can get a closer look at our tornado warnings for us here. And again, this is a look at our tornado warning. A lot of these racing off very quickly, 50, 55, even 60 miles an hour. And there you go. When you talk about having, debris on the ground, this is a different radar. Again, we were showing you the reflectivity, and now we can show you the correlation coefficient, and this is an indication that there is debris. Is there two little areas right here? Well, we've got to keep a close eye on that, but you need to seek shelter immediately. And these things are all racing off to the north and the east because that low-level jet is coming in and picking these storms up and just shoving them to the north and the east. Through the day, it continues. I mean, we've got it through the early hours, and then watch out. Charleston, Myrtle Beach, Lake City heads up. It heads in your direction, and it still stays severe. So this is going to be until around the lunchtime hour. We see those strong storms. We have yet another severe thunderstorm warning here to show you. This is in North Carolina. There's Chapel Hill. There's Raleigh. It's off to the west, but those areas need to wake up and pay attention. So if you know someone in Raleigh, if you know someone in Chapel Hill, wake them up, because these systems that have rotation and strong winds and heavy rain and heavy downpours are headed in our direction. We do clear out again, though, as we head into the afternoon hours. Now, it will take days to sort out the number and strength of the Easter Sunday tornadoes. We can tell you around 40 tornadoes have been reported from Texas to Tennessee. Focus for a moment. We want you to hear on this cluster across southern Mississippi. Remember, we had two massive and very strong tornadoes causing damage at the exact same time. New this morning, the tornado outbreak and severe thunderstorms have killed at least 13 people across 3 states.
Is it coming this way?
A pair of long-track tornadoes tear through south central Mississippi. Catastrophic damage in communities north of Hattiesburg, like these homes gutted in the small town of Soso. Metal wrapped around trees, evidence of the tornado's muscle.
But you could hear it, and we knew that it was going to be bad.
Even Soso's fire station got hit.
The fire department there is essentially demolished. Several businesses there are pretty much gone or severely damaged.
Storm shelters opened across Mississippi. Evacuees struggling to practice social distancing. The Easter Sunday rampage kicked off in northern Louisiana. Willie Latin Jr.'s home of South Shreveport got hit.
When I seen the rain coming in sideways, and then I could hear on this side of my ear, I could hear the tornado making rumbling noises. So I went in the bathroom and took shelter.
East of Shreveport, some 300 homes damaged in Monroe, Louisiana.
Lord Jesus. My boy house gone, man. It's gone.
Tyrone Dickens still has a front door in his house in Monroe, but not much else. The line of fierce storms drove east throughout the day Sunday. They left damage scattered around Birmingham in northern Alabama.
All of a sudden, it just calms down to nothing, and the next thing you know, just high winds that you can't really get away from.
Now, the governors of Mississippi and Louisiana have declared states of emergency following the tornado outbreak. But, Jim, it's not the wind and the damage just from these severe thunderstorms. We have just a huge area of strong winds.
Right. So you've got the localized winds with the severe thunderstorms, all right, and the low-level jet on the east side of the front. And the west side, you've got strong cold advection coming in to produce strong winds as well from a whole other different direction. So what doesn't get you with this squall line in through here may get you later on as the northwest winds kicking behind us. By the way, this area of rain and thunderstorms from just east of Cincinnati down east of Nashville now is what is the game for this afternoon across the northeast. So here's round one, sub-severe but windy because of the low-level jet, all right? And then round two comes with the convection this afternoon. Look at this low here. The low itself is actually heading up into southern Canada, but you can see the swing of this thing definitely going to be rotating on through. And look at the wind field associated with that. All right, so we're south now, gusting with the thunderstorms and anybody who's in elevation. And you can see what we're talking about here are winds that are going to be up into the tropical storm near hurricane force all the way into southern New England. Incredible wind energy. And again, these are south winds. All right, then here's the west wind. 40, no picnic. You can't get out away from this. 40 to 50 at Buffalo. Pittsburgh, 40 to 50. We're going to have a seiche on Lake Erie today as a result of that wind blowing across the water. South wind, again, ahead of the front and through here. Atlanta, even gusty behind it, 20 to 25 miles per hour. Look at Wilmington, North Carolina, 40 to 50. So think of this. I mean, it's almost like this big tropical storm heading up the East Coast, really, and lasting for just about everybody a good part of the day. We start to calm things down, certainly by this afternoon across the Deep South, but the damage is done. Tremendous amounts of cleanup down and through here from either damaging winds, Steph, flood, or the numerous number of tornadoes that we've had.
All right, so let's talk about those flooded warnings because severe thunderstorms unleashing flash flooding. Look at this in Jefferson County, Alabama. There's a wake with the wind that's pushing that there. This is a look at the Birmingham Metro last night. 2.8 inches clobbering the city on Sunday, filling the streets with water. 33 inches of rain in Birmingham so far. That's double the average rainfall. So let's talk about all the showers we've seen over the past 24 hours. And there's been a lot of reports of 3 to 5 inches of rain. And you see here over the past 24 hours, 3+ inches and even some 5+ inches of rain for us here with all the storms coming through. Over 75 flood reports. This is a big deal. We've heard of rescues going on in some places. Now, even though the rain has passed in, portions of North Carolina and Tennessee, there are still some major flooding issues there. Now, everything through the Northeast tomorrow morning, it's going to be a wet one here. Very, very possibility that we could see flooding. Showers coming through. They will continue to come through for us. And, we don't anticipate seeing the severe limits in the Northeast like we're seeing in the South, but there's still going to be plenty of rainfall for us here along the 95 corridor. Everything rotating up, but it lasts. Look at this all the way through on Monday. Really through the entire day for us. We're going to continue to see those showers. So that's why we do have that threat of flooding. That's one of the reasons, I should say, we have that threat to flooding. Of course, we also have issues in Maine with that snow melt on top of everything. So 2 to 3 inches is possible here, especially along that I-95 corridor for us. So as we head into tomorrow, things quiet down. We will see that sunshine for us. With the exception of West Virginia, it looks like we'll get a little burst of energy giving us some rain and even maybe a little bit of snow into those higher elevations. So, Jen, at least we'll get a chance to dry out here.
Exactly. Now we need a chance to calm down this morning. It's been very active with thunderstorms on the move. We're watching several tornado warnings with radar confirmed tornadoes on the ground. This one in South Carolina is still Furman and Gifford. Seek shelter immediately. You can see the circulation has really tightened up here. It's very evident on our velocity signature. We've got the winds away from the radar and towards the radar in very close proximity. We're also seeing debris confirmed on radar as well. So that gives us that radar confirmation. Tracking it to the north and east, moving very fast at about highway speed. We're tracking it to Nicksville 621, Horscall 628, Almeda just after that. Then we jump up to the next one, Baumberg, also under a tornado warning, Elkhart as well. Tornado warnings in South Carolina and North Carolina right now with radar confirmed tornadoes. There is a debris signature with several of these. So we go right into it and we are tracking tornado warnings for you right now. This area near Estill and Furman, this is what we call a debris ball. And so we are looking at the Doppler reflectivity. You can see where we would have the circulation like that. And this is an indication of debris. So very concerning right now. Just to the east of Estill and just to the north of Furman is where that radar confirmed tornado is. This is tracking to the east at about 50 miles per hour. It is moving very fast. We're also, of course, concerned that there's a lot of rain and just general windy conditions out here as well. Seek shelter in this entire area immediately. Putting interior room, putting as many walls and windows between you and the outside as possible. On the correlation coefficient, this is an indication of debris as well, getting picked up by the Doppler radar. So two ways to confirm that we do have a tornado on the ground, that debris ball and the reflectivity, as well as the correlation coefficient. So you see how the warning now extends out further here into the north and east. It is moving fast at about 50 to 50 miles per hour. We've got Nicksville 622, Toby's Bluff 637, Snyder's Crossroads at 643, and Colleton at 648. So tracking that cell for you. Seek shelter in that entire area because it is moving fast. So you don't want to wait until that storm is right on your doorstep. If you're under the warning, get into your safe area right now. We're also tracking another storm cell up to the north. Let's jump here into North Carolina. We've gone just to the west of Durham, North Carolina. This is the area that's under that tornado warning. It does include Burlington, Graham, and Melville. This goes until 6:45 local time. The circulation here, as you can see, is a little broader, not quite as tight as those ones we're watching off to the south, but certainly, you know, that somewhere in here there is some circulation potential. I think maybe just up to the north right there. Either way, if you're in a tornado warning, we know the cells will be cycling and they can be changing very quickly. So if you're under warning, seek shelter. We've got Graham and Melville within this warning. It's moving to the north and east at about 55 miles per hour. Carr 635, Laws 641, Hurdle Mills 646 as we track this whole area up to the north and east. And look how much rain is here as well. Torrential rain coming down with this as well. You need to be inside and seeking shelter immediately across this whole zone up to Charlotte and Halifax. We're in Virginia now as we look at this tornado warning right here. Again, this is embedded within an entire line of thunderstorms. So you're going to get some strong winds out of this here because of that. And then we have this rotation that we're keeping a close watch on. It's not as tight as others that we've seen, but certainly the potential is there. And again, these cells are cycling. They're changing with every radar scan. You'll get some new information. And so we'll be bringing you the latest on that. Watching for this area to have active radar and active thunderstorms over the next several hours. We're under tornado watch until about noon here. Everything is moving to the north and east. So it's not moving due east. It's not moving just out of the area, but it is tracking with an eastward component. So we'll get this through in the next couple of hours for you here. Be patient. Just heed the warnings. Make sure you're in your safe shelter. Even with the severe thunderstorm warnings here, I'd urge you to get away from windows, you know, even get into your bathroom for some of these storms because, Steph, some of the storms themselves without a tornado are putting down winds of 60 to 70 miles per hour.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of tree damage just from strong winds here and an ominous sight caught. You've got to come to your television screen and see this thing. This was yesterday in Laurel, Mississippi. Look how big that is. You hear the sirens in the background.
Is it coming this way?
Well, it didn't come right towards them, but deadly storms definitely tore through multiple neighborhoods. And here's just some of the aftermath from that. The dangerous and deadly outbreak on Sunday. Some homes flattened. Debris has been thrown about here, leaving a chaotic scene. And Mississippi was not the only state dealing with severe weather outbreak yesterday. But we want to start there as we have a look back at the storms. Now, remember, this was yesterday, all right? And there was actually two monster cells moving almost along the exact same path. There's Laurel for you. It's just north of Laurel, okay? And this is what they're going to have to do is go out and assess the damage, determine the strength of these, the path, you know, and how many tornadoes there actually were. You can see them fire up on the radar. There's one, and then we have our second one coming through. And see how they're taking almost the exact same path. They're going to show you again. There's number one. You see that tornado, and then there's the second one right there. Just something you do not see very often. All right, now as we go back to Texas, Louisiana, where we first had the severe weather reported yesterday. Multiple tornadoes reported there into Louisiana. Then everything shifted over to Mississippi and into Alabama as well. We had multiple tornado warnings there. And look at all the wind, too, that caused damage. And now over 1 million people are without power. And now we're dealing with our tornado warnings here. Jim, this line here with the Charleston radar is really kicking off this morning.
Yeah, this is about as good a tornado signature you're going to see on radar at this time of the morning ever. Okay, let's start with this storm that's really close, very, very close to the Charleston radar. So we're getting a good look at the low levels, a part of it. Sitting back here, classic hook. Look at the debris ball right there. We just got a new scan, of course, and that's it right there. Still showing up very, very well. Everything that you could ask the radar to do shows us that we have a tornado. Let's look at the wind field in through here, Greg Diamond. Again, strong gate. Greg, can you show me the gate to gate here? Maybe we can get an idea just how strong. We can't do it. We can't do this. All right. So essentially, you know, yesterday we were looking at some of this stuff in Mississippi where we had gate-to-gate shear of 170 to 200 miles per hour. All right. If they can verify that, that's an incredible storm. Alameda, keep an eye out. This is a very dangerous storm. There is debris being lofted. There's no reason to believe this tornado is going to weaken anytime soon.
All right, we're going to get to what's happening in South Carolina, I should say right now. We have this huge line of storms, tornado warnings from Virginia all the way down into Georgia. We have a serious situation going on here in South Carolina, however. Look at all these tornado warnings. And this one, all right, you can't get more classic than that. You see this little hook around right there, all right? That's where your tornado is, moving off to the northeast at 50 miles an hour. Again, you see the classic tornado structure for us here, and that's just looking at the reflectivity at the rain. We can look at other different radars and show you the wind, all right, and also that there is a debris ball associated with this as well. As we take you up to Varnell here, we also have tornadoes that are moving off to the north and the east. Our low-level jet is basically just shoving everything off to the north and the east. And then we have multiple other tornado warnings here as we continue to move north into South Carolina. Again, a tornado warning means you get to the lowest level of your home as fast as you can, away from any windows, the most interior section. And some of these just have little notches on them. You have to just look real closely in to see just a little notch when you have a line of storms like this. Now, as we go a little bit farther north, this is Greensboro, there's Raleigh, this is Durham, right? Duke and UNC right in the triangle there. And as we zoom in to show you, we do have 2 tornado warnings here. And again, you have to watch for these little notches. It's a little bit tough to see, but you can get some of those stronger winds coming in. And there it is for you. We do have that rotation. Again, you see the broad rotation with the red winds going away, green store, and that kind of sticks out like a sore thumb. That is our rotation. And when we can see that rotation in our radars, that means that you need to get to shelter immediately, okay? Red means your winds are going away, green towards. So if you do that with your hands, what do you get? You get rotation. And we have another spot right here with some rotation for us, okay? Red away, green towards. So you need to seek shelter immediately, as not only are these moving very fast thanks to that low-level jet, but there's a lot of rain. Back to showing you where the rain is. You see how right now it just looks like a blob of rain, but when you get close down into those radar, you can really see what's happening with that rotation. Multiple severe thunderstorm warnings as well. And by the way, those are cranking out the winds. A lot of down trees with those cells too, and it's going to continue. It looks like at least until the lunchtime hour once that blows off, and then we're going to have to deal with the residual just strong winds. The northeast, it really hangs around throughout the day, but not as severe. Jim.
All right, a tornado emergency for Chattanooga, Tennessee overnight, leaving behind a trail of damage. Search and rescue underway. Joining us on the phone with an update of this situation is Amy Maxwell, Public Information Officer with Hamilton County, Tennessee Emergency Management. Thanks for joining us this morning. Can you give us an update on the damage left behind from these storms? Kind of give us an idea of what you guys are looking at this morning.
Sure, we've been working nonstop since this storm touched ground in Chattanooga about 11:30 last night. We activated our Emergency Operations Center yesterday afternoon to plan for these storms. Currently, right now, we have over 115 structures that are completely damaged, and then we also have transported 14 people to our local hospitals. So we definitely have some significant damage to Chattanooga, but we have so many people here. Volunteer fire departments and surrounding counties are all working together. About 500 first responders are out doing a grid search trying to account for every single person in Chattanooga.
So in terms of the area that you guys are trying to cover this morning, how much have you tackled so far and how much do you still have to get to?
Right now, we're just about finished with as far as searching the area, but we've got at least anywhere from 10 to maybe 12 miles that we've had to cover. But it's mostly everything is conglomerate in the city. So it's mostly subdivisions that are in this area that have been hit. And of course, restaurants as well. But, you know, all of our restaurants are closed due to the COVID-19.
Right. Amy, can you give me an idea of the, kind of the worst case scenario with the damage you're seeing? I mean, huge brick buildings, for example, taken down to rubble. We're seeing a lot of the pictures in through here, so it certainly looks incredibly destructive from what we're seeing.
Yes, we've had several churches that have significant damage. We have an elementary school that has been damaged, and of course, businesses are total flattened. Zaxby's. We have a Goodwill store. We have other barbecue restaurants that are completely flattened.
So well-developed structures. Amy Maxwell, the Public Information Officer with Hamilton County, Tennessee Emergency Management. Thanks for talking to us and updating you on that situation this morning. That went on toward Cleveland as well and caused some damage. A very active morning as we track this line of strong thunderstorms, about as active as you can get with tornadoes. Keeping an eye literally from Durham, North Carolina, all the way into Georgia, with continual tornado warnings there. A very strong tornado, again, to the west or it's actually southeast of Hampton in South Carolina, working its way on off to the northeast. This is another one here. This is the Durham Storm, about 7:07 coming into your area. Keep an eye out. All right, guys, about as active a morning as you could possibly get here. We've got the total number of warnings that are out. This is severe thunderstorm, flood, tornado, which there are many of, by the way. 44 at the present time. Okay, so 8 tornado warnings out at the present time. 18.3 million of you impacted. Storm reports in the last 12 hours, 242. There were more before that. And as you can see, in the last 15 minutes, we've had about 3,700 lightning strikes out there. Lots to get to, Steph. Let's go over these tornado warnings.
All right, let's do it. So again, they're stretching really our warnings anywhere from Virginia all the way back down into Georgia. Not only do we have tornado warnings, but severe thunderstorm warnings that, by the way, can do damage as much as an EF0 and EF1. So you have to watch out for those as well. But what we want to focus in on are tornado warnings here into portions of Georgia and South Carolina. We've been following some very strong cells here into South Carolina as we zip on in. And again, you see that, there you go. Whoop, there we go. And so watch right there. That's where you'd have to watch out for the tornado. But you have that inflow coming in like this, and this is all going to be rain. But this is your classic setup for a tornado and what it would look like. And again, this is a reflectivity. This is South Carolina. Here's Hendersonville. There's Walterboro. And again, this is where you're going to look for that reflectivity. And there it is for you. Quite a notch. All right. So we think that there is a tornado on the ground here. Red means winds are going away from the radar. Green is towards. So you see that rotation there. And we've been following these cells. Everything basically moving off to the north and the east for the most part, thanks to that low level jet, really cranking everything here. And a lot of these cells are moving 50, even 60 miles an hour. And they are rain wrapped too, so they're very, very hard to see. Now, as we go a little bit farther north for Bamberg, Calhoun, and also into Orangeburg, again, we're still in South Carolina, just to give you some perspective, because I know there's a lot of storms. There's a lot of stuff on our radar to even show you. And then we have another tornado warning just off to the north of that one. And again, we're able to look at multiple different radars and show you those multiple different radars. This is basically showing you the rain. Then we can show you the winds. We're looking at our velocity here, and we do have some broad rotation, you know, with the red and the green, maybe a little something right there. You see that little piece right there? What's going to happen as we head through the day? Well, it's really not going to slow down. There's nothing really to stop this. We are going to see cells throughout the morning hours all the way to the coast. Charleston, Myrtle Beach, you're in on that too, and as well as coastal North Carolina. It does look like by the lunchtime hour, things will quiet down a bit. Now, speaking of North Carolina, severe thunderstorm warnings, and it looks like we have a tornado warning here just underneath our sign for our severe thunderstorm warning. Multiple tornado warnings here as well, and a lot of rain associated with these, so it is definitely tough to see these, but you need to seek shelter immediately. There it is for you. Right there. There's your rotation that the radar is picking up. That's why it's getting warned. Moving off to the north and the east. Very, very fast as well. Again, don't forget that these are going to come in quick. So if you know someone in the path of any of these cells, perhaps you can call them and wake them up and let them know that severe weather is headed their way. The triangle, though, it's going to be a tough one through the morning hours. We'll clear out, obviously, a little bit sooner than the coast. Looks like we'll be through all the severe weather as we head into the early afternoon hours. And then it's going to be sunshine, right? Then it will be dry. And it will be comfortable for us here. A quick look, Jen, of what's happening here into Norfolk and Richmond. It's, you know, it's going to be a day. It's going to be an early, rough start to the day. But the Northeast, it lasts really throughout the whole day, even though we finish off here.
Right. You finish off in the Southeast with the storms. But in the Northeast, we've got rounds of different kinds of weather. For now, it is mainly just rain. We've got a very windy day ahead for us in the Northeast in general, outside of thunderstorms. And then we have to watch for the potential of severe weather. So right now, it's a heavy rain that's heading and tracking in towards New York City. Philadelphia already got it. We have some thunderstorms ongoing now, just moving to northern parts of Delaware, but not severe, and certainly not the big event by any stretch. We're just in a real steady, drenching rain that's coming up from the south. Look at Washington, Alexandria, Manassas, and south of town towards Fredericksburg. You are in a very heavy rainfall out there. This is the low-level jet bringing up all the moisture and the instability. Your dew points are coming up. Your dew points were sitting in the 50s when I last checked here about an hour ago, and they're going to come up a couple of notches. That's going to set the stage for an atmosphere that will see some thunderstorms this afternoon. So, again, we get all of of that moisture in, the instability in the area, and then we get into a zone of some scattered showers and thunderstorms right through the late afternoon, and then by evening, everything is finally tracking up here in and out of even New England. But we've got a busy next 12 hours across this area, so the rainfall will be heavy at times. That's going to be one piece of it. About 2 to 3 inches possible up here into the Northeast, from southern New England on down through the mid-Atlantic. And yes, we could use a little rainfall. We've been a little dry, but this can be too much at once. So it is possible streams coming out of their creeks, storm drains could get packed up. There definitely could be some flooding or flash flooding there, which is why that outlook is for the region. Yeah, we've been dry. We haven't had a lot of rain recently, but we are concerned about getting in too much at once. And of course, the South, where it's just been a wet, spring and winter to begin with here, there's lots of flash flooding concerns ongoing for you right now in parts of western North Carolina, even a little bit into East Tennessee, but especially West North Carolina hit very hard with the heavy rainfall, Jim, and there's ongoing flash flood concerns and even water rescues there.
Yeah, Boone, Richmond, horrible morning there. All right, guys, let's get into this. I want to point out some of these storms in Georgia as they continue to race southeast at about 65 miles per hour. A couple of tornado warning storms there, but you can see the storms extend all the way down into the Gulf of Mexico. Again, just it looks like a kind of a solid line right here, right? But within this, there is certainly a couplet. Let's take a look at it. The storm this is west of Alma, Georgia right now. See the way it comes in here? Circles around. Do we have any debris, any tornado debris signature within that? No, we do not, at least at this time. That's a good thing. All right, so there may not be a tornado on the ground, but keep an eye on this, Alma, because we have had some dropout in the correlation coefficient earlier with this storm. All right, again, what has been the most impressive storm from a radar standpoint this morning, moving just north of the Charleston radar right here. Earlier debris ball, it's heading toward Walterboro, so keep an eye out. Still shrooning out debris, possibly as far north as 15 miles from the center. Dangerous afternoon yesterday, and now a dangerous morning. Floodwaters really booking it here at a pretty good clip overnight through the streets of South Pittsburgh, Tennessee. The small town about 30 miles due west of Chattanooga. Widespread reports of 3 to 5 inches of rain falling in a short time in both Tennessee and even in North Carolina. We had rainfall rates last night, instantaneous rainfall rates. Okay, we don't have ground truth, but there were 7 to 8 inch per hour rainfall rates, instantaneous rainfall rates. Just incredible heavy rain coming in. And a lot of this, especially in northern Alabama, came in right after a huge swath of wind damage. So can you imagine that? Trying to get out and it's just absolutely pouring rain. You lose a little piece of the roof. You're trying to cover it up. You can't even do that. Let's get into this. We have such an active morning out, about as active as you can get, certainly for what we've got on. Multiple tornado warnings with tornadoes on the ground as we speak. One of them southwest of Durham in North Carolina. So let's take a look at this. This is the storm west of Charleston, just about to come into Walterboro. This was the storm that had just a beautiful hook on it. And unfortunately, the better it looks, the worse the storm. And this is, of course, what we've got going on coming right into Walterboro. You can see the debris ball at times showing up with that bright reflectivity. Let's take a look at a different mode of the same radar. This is the storm relative velocity, not as tight a couplet now. Notice we don't have that real tight, what we call gate-to-gate shear couplet in through here. But, all right, do we have a debris signature? Is it still, regardless of the tightness of the couplet, producing debris in through here? Again, Walterboro, it's right on your doorstep. It'll be in about 5 minutes, about 10 miles off to your west right now. We lost that. Is that the new scan, G9? That's the new, okay, so this is the new scan. So we still have debris with this. It's still producing a tornado. But what's really interesting, if you go back and you look at this scan, all right, when it started right over the radar site, you see how it's just this tight blue-gray scan, and that's all there is? Watch this as we advance north. So the tornado's weakening a little bit, but look at what it's doing. It's centrifuging out the debris. That's all debris, all well to the north of Walterboro, and potentially falling onto the ground. And that's what you're seeing being picked up by the correlation coefficient. Really, really neat aspect of that. All right, guys, we've got a couple of storms here south of Roxboro, watching with a tornado warning. This southern storm, believe it or not, even though it doesn't look as good, I just saw this with a dropout in the correlation coefficient before I came on the air. Okay, so it is radar confirmed. So we've got it. It's probably right back there. That's Orange County. That's Hillsboro. So this is going to come right across the interstate. It's going to come right across 86, head up, again, just to the west of Eno, perhaps. There's the dropout. All right, dropout's just a little bit farther to the south than that. It's just coming into the coming in. So watch out around Eno as this moves to Orange Grove. You're first at 6:54. Melbourne coming your way as well. And we'll see, again, we've seen further storms develop down the flank. just a little bit of a signature right there. And that's what we're looking at with that Durham cell. Here's the one around Mount Tirzah, Granville, Person counties. Again, this is up to 158. This is just south of Roxborough in through here. And this thing's continuing to move on off toward the northeast as well at about 50 miles per hour. So some very strong storms. Some of these rain wrapped this morning, some of them not so much. But we sat, amazingly, Steph, at one point this morning we had 4 to 5 tornadoes on the ground at one time.
It's about to go. Oh, there it goes!
And there goes the roof of a shed in San Angelo, Texas. Top gust recorded in San Angelo, 52 miles an hour. That was yesterday. Also getting drenched with the rain. And that's been a big story, is the rain that's been coming down with this. Now, we still have that severe threat that's lasting through at least the lunchtime hour here along the East Coast, as that whole line just marches right towards the Atlantic. And we can take you in and show you where and why we're going to see the worst of it. Now, remember, we do have coming in ahead of this thing, we have just a mid-level jet that's screaming northbound, very, very strong winds in the mid-levels, right? So that's helping with these thunderstorms and the destruction. Think of a thunderstorm, okay? And we live down here at the surface, right? Well, what happens is you get an updraft and you get downdrafts. If you have really strong winds coming into the thunderstorm like that, guess what? This updraft can pull some of these winds down, and that could enhance the thunderstorms. Now, on top of that, we also have what we call synoptic scale wind. Jen's going to talk about that in just a minute. So it's not just thunderstorm wind, but synoptic scale is a much larger scale. We're talking low pressures and fronts and whatnot. That's going to cause some damage. Now, you don't need a tornado in order to get damage. I mean, look at this. You could just have winds 40, 50, and this is what we've had. We've had winds 60, 65 miles an hour reported. That can take down trees. And of course, if a tree falls onto a house, then you have significant problems. And then you get into the severe limit, 58 miles an hour or higher, and that will cause some damage, even more damage. And again, it all kind of clears out in the south by lunchtime. But Jen, the rain and the wind, it continues. And I'm talking synoptic scale wind in the northeast as well.
Exactly. And we saw some wind damage yesterday in Kentucky just because it was windy, not because there were thunderstorms in the area. And that's what we're concerned about today as well. Still in Kentucky, throughout the entire Ohio Valley, actually. Michigan going to be very strong winds. A lot of wind up here across portions of western New York and western Pennsylvania and the northeast from Boston down through New York City and Philadelphia, watching for some very strong winds. There are high wind warnings for you there from Delaware to Jersey up through Long Island, the entire tri-state. We could see winds today in excess of 60 miles per hour. Look at New York City and look at that forecast. 40 to 50 mile per hour winds. This is not because of a thunderstorm. This is because it's just going to be windy and a very strong south wind as well. Boston, we could see those winds gusting to hurricane force, 75 miles per hour. We will watch that potential for trees to come down, tree limbs to come down, power lines to come down. Make sure that you charge everything. Keep it charged today in case you do lose power. Also, let's get you to the radar right now, watching a tornado warning for Walterboro continuing. Culleton, you are under this. Seek shelter. This is a tornado emergency in this area where we do have a radar confirmed tornado. Seek shelter immediately.
Incredible morning as we continue to watch a long-track tornado work its way across South Carolina this morning. It's moved potentially 50 to 60 miles, now moving right over Walterboro, South Carolina, where they have a tornado emergency. So you can see that line, which is also moving across I-95 all the way up into Florence. So hopefully nobody's on that interstate. Very strong winds with some of these warning cells to the north. Classic hooking through here. And interestingly enough, the radar site, which is Charleston's down to the south, took a hit. So you're not seeing what would probably be a highly reflective debris ball with this. But we can see it on other modes of the radar. The radar has different modes that we can ask it to perform different things. Here's the wind field right here. All right, so strong inflow coming into this. Clear circulation moving right over Walterboro. You can see it as it moved up and right over the city of Walterboro here. Unfortunately, very, very dangerous storm. You know, it's one of these things where once we hear what happened, just given what we've seen, it's probably not going to be good. But our prayer is certainly going out to everybody in Walterboro. Let's go back and rewind this. This is the correlation coefficient. This tells us what we're looking at that's different from rain. And in this case, as we look at Walterboro, go ahead and zoom in there a little bit, Greg Diamond. You can see this debris area went right over Walterboro. Look at that. There it is, moving over 95. There's debris right over Walterboro. Still a strong couplet here. Looks like it's starting to get centrifuged out a little bit. Maybe not as strong as it's now north of 7 up toward Benjamin. So kind of widening this out and extrapolating it a little bit farther to the east from a reflectivity standpoint. We'll see how much it holds together, but this is still kind of a classic hook echo. It easily could regenerate as it heads toward the seacoast, but it is going to move, again, just to the north of 17 and probably make its way toward the suburbs of Charleston, South Carolina. So this is Colleton County. Again, Walterboro is the one that's in danger. Digger Crossroads is next. Cottageville. This is, again, a tornado emergency with this particular tornado warning as this continues to head off toward the east. Greg, let's show Charleston just to give everybody a scale as to how far that is away. Again, it's just this is Charleston, South Carolina. Here's Summerville. That is a suburb that people live in Summerville, actually commute into Charleston. And this is what's coming your way, more than likely, between Charleston and Summerville. We'll keep an eye on it for you here, guys. Very, very dangerous storm. This is a long-track tornado. A long-track tornado that we've been watching this morning move over 60 miles here, which has just moved through, it appears, downtown Walterboro in South Carolina. Greg, if you can get me numbers on population there, I would appreciate it. About 5,000? Okay.
Walterboro has a population of nearly 5,500 people. 5,500
people. Thank you, Steph. I appreciate that. So there it is, again, moving its way to the east. Cottageville, you're next. This is going to move right along or just to the north of 17. It is continuing to produce debris. Pretty strong signature here, gate to gate from what we're seeing. No reason why it shouldn't continue to produce damage as it heads to the east. There's the velocity going in, 87 miles per hour. So I'll draw you what's going on here. Velocity coming away, about 34 miles an hour. So do your math. You add those two together, and you've got about 21 miles an hour. That's a strong tornado working its way generally off to the east. Earlier on, that tornado was producing what we call gate-to-gate shear. That's what you just looked at with those numbers, up over 200 miles per hour. So debris was as high as about 25,000 feet from some of the scans that I was looking at. But that was just kind of a quick see what this thing is doing. Right now, Colleton, again, heading toward Cottageville, a strong tornado that has more than likely moved through the town, as Stephanie said, of 5,500 people in Walterboro. All right, so we've just seen a downstream warning issue. Let's slide right to show everybody that, Greg, and how far it goes. It does contain Cottageville, not surprising. It does contain that corridor of 17, and it's just now on the verge of Somerville. All right, so this is what here's 17 right here, very highly populated route traveling into Charleston, and this is Cottageville right through here. This one is not a tornado emergency, all right? So the storm is weakened a hair, but it's still got the chance to produce tornado. As it works its way to the east, it may cycle up again as it makes its way towards Somerville. So Cottageville, Somerville, potentially Goose Creek eventually, which is, again, a suburb of Charleston. You need to keep an eye on this as it heads its way on off toward the east. All right. Many, many more storms to cover here. Let's, again, take you through South Carolina, North Carolina, as we've had storms up towards the south and west of Durham, Jen, that are moving in as well. Over to you.
Yeah. All right, Jim. So we're watching these storms on the move again today, and it seems like this yesterday. Unbelievable images of widespread damage that continue to pour into the Weather Channel this morning following a deadly and destructive day of storms. Thousands of people are without power in Mississippi. The extensive damage you see here is in Bassfield, and the threat for more severe weather, not in Mississippi today, but we got to keep watch on several other states in the south and east. Obviously, we're watching South Carolina. You heard about the North Carolina storms as well. We take it up into Virginia as another state that we'll be looking at potential for severe weather, and we have some active warnings ongoing right now. This whole red zone, we are watching for the chance of severe weather stretching, honestly, from New York City. We could see severe storms later on today. I'll get to that forecast, but also in through the south and east where the storms are very active right now. Wind damage going to be a widespread threat from thunderstorms, and then we have that tornado risk, and the thunderstorms have been rotating. We've had a number of confirmed Doppler radar confirmed tornadoes this morning. Obviously, that tornado emergency right now in Colleton County is the one we're continuing to watch with a tornado on the ground. We have a 5 on the Torcon. We will see additional rotating thunderstorms today across eastern North Carolina, southeast Virginia, and into South Carolina as well. All right, so let's look at this forecast radar. This morning, thunderstorms tracking through the low country of of South Carolina. This is 9:30, and you can see soon after that, they are pushing offshore. About 10:30, 11 o'clock, we'll finally get them off the coast there. It takes a little bit longer to get everything off the coast here just because it's sticks out farther in North Carolina. But up to the north in the mid-Atlantic, we got a couple things going on. First, we still have an influx of more moisture and instability, and dew points are still going up across this area. We're just in the plain old rain for now, but we get into thunderstorm threat as we watch what happens later on this afternoon. So this is even late morning. You don't have to wait till afternoon. Late morning, we start to see some of these cells popping across West Virginia, central Pennsylvania, into the Delmarva area, and any of these could go severe. Damaging winds, the main threat. It's going to be a downright windy day anyway, but then we bring in these thunderstorms with that damaging wind potential. We've also got the potential for some rotation with some of these too. There's just so much speed shear, so much wind energy in the atmosphere. Really strong winds coming in at the mid to upper levels. At the surface, the winds are strong too. It's just that they're stronger above. So that is going to mean that we have that potential for rotation. It's a 3 on the Torcon in Pennsylvania, a 2 just to the north in southern New York. And then tomorrow, we keep watch for the risk of thunderstorms. We bring it back. Charleston, we could be doing again, looking at that chance of thunderstorms. The situation is not like today, but we still could see some strong damaging winds, some gusty storms, and of course, lightning will be a threat with thunderstorms tomorrow, South Georgia, northern Florida. Steph.
And tornado sirens blaring in the early morning in Woodstock, Georgia. This is north of Atlanta. Rain and wind, but you really shouldn't rely on those sirens. Those are meant for outdoor activity, not for when you're in your house, and definitely not for when you're in your house sleeping. So make sure that your phones could alert you, or you have a weather radio that is handy. And of course, continue to watch the Weather Channel, because as we've been showing you, we have different views of our radars to show you, so we can really get down to the nitty gritty, because this might just look like a blob of rain for you, but we have a tornado warning. Look at the winds coming into this thing right here. Strong storm right now into Cottageville. Again, this is a tornado warning. There is rotation, so you need to seek shelter immediately, lowest level of your home. And this is the storm. Remember, we were talking about Walterboro, where we had the debris ball come through, and it's still moving east, and it's still holding its shape, and it's still holding its strength. And so it's off moving to the northeast around 50 miles an hour. And so you need to seek shelter immediately if you are in the path of that storm. Again, if you just look at the big line, it looks like just a big blob of rain. But when we take you down to that nitty gritty, it's quite a different story. Columbia, you're going to get through it as we head into the late morning. Myrtle Beach and Charleston, we still have strong lines to come through. All right, so this is going to be with us at least until around that lunchtime hour. Then it clears out, and you will be finished with it. As we look towards Chapel Hill, Raleigh, the Triangle, tornado warning also right there into north central North Carolina, just on the border of Virginia. As we take you down into that, a lot of lightning. And even if you don't get a tornado out of some of these, you could get strong winds. And there you go. There's our rotation right here. All right. So again, we have that ability to look at different radar signatures and show you what's happening, but there's a strong rotation associated with that cell. So when's everything going to blast through? The I-95 corridor, you get it through the morning hours. And then as we head into those early afternoon hours, Raleigh and points westbound, we are going to be in the clear here. But until we get through that, Richmond, severe thunderstorm warnings. And I can't emphasize enough that you could still have really a lot of damage, even just with a severe thunderstorm. Now, it's going to take days really to sort out the numbers and strength of our Easter Sunday and Monday tornado outbreak. We can tell you we have had 40 reported tornadoes from Texas to Tennessee. And look right there into southern Mississippi. That's where much of the catastrophic damage has occurred. If you were with us yesterday, you saw that we had 2 tornadoes moving basically along the same path. This outbreak has killed at least 13 people across 3 states. A pair of long-track tornadoes tear through south central Mississippi. Catastrophic damage in communities north of Hattiesburg, like these homes gutted in the small town of Soso. Metal wrapped around trees, evidence of the tornado's muscle.
But you could hear it, and we knew that it was going to be bad.
Even Soso's fire station got hit.
The fire department there is essentially demolished. Several businesses there are pretty much gone or severely damaged.
Storm shelters opened across Mississippi. Evacuees struggling to practice social distancing. The Easter Sunday rampage kicked off in northern Louisiana. Willie Latin Jr.'s home of South Shreveport got hit.
when I seen the rain coming in sideways, and then I could hear on this side of my ear, I could hear the tornado making rumbling noises. So I went in the bathroom and took shelter.
East of Shreveport, some 300 homes damaged in Monroe, Louisiana.
Lord Jesus. My boy house gone, man. It's gone.
Tyrone Dickens still has a front door in his house in Monroe, but not much else. The line of fierce storms drove east throughout the day Sunday. They left damage scattered around Birmingham in northern Alabama.
All of a sudden, it just calms down to nothing, and the next thing you know, just high winds that you can't really get away from.
Now, the governors of Mississippi and Louisiana have declared states of emergency following the tornado outbreak. All right, let's get to Jim now because, Jim, we have two different types of wind, if you will, with this system.
Yeah, we've got the large-scale wind field, obviously, that's around our low pressure, which is heading up into southern Canada, and you have a low-level jet, which is about 3,000 feet off the deck. That is what's driving all of this morning up into New England. All right, that's where that is. So even some of the non-thunderstorm wind gusts we get are going to be quite powerful. And as this comes around this afternoon, we will kick off more thunderstorms across Pennsylvania and possibly into New York City and New England that could also produce 50 to 70 mile per hour gusts of the severe variety as well. So low pressure, very strong low-level jet coming on the east side of this. Cold air advecting in the low levels as well on the west side of it. So some of you are going to go from strong south winds to strong west winds coming in behind this. So let's watch the whole thing unfold. Everybody's southeast now, for the most part, east of Pittsburgh. But as we work our way through the afternoon, watch how the winds increased along the seacoast. So that's that line, that's that low-level jet. And even with non-severe thunderstorms, we could have wind gusts like that. I mean, think about it. You're talking about something that's 5 to 10,000 feet off the deck. Boston, 60 to 75. That's incredible. Yeah, you're going to have wind damage with that, even without a severe thunderstorm warning. But here we go. Look at the arrows. They're all moving now from west to east through New York City. Here's the front. Here's the front working its way through Boston at this point. And here we are at 8 o'clock tonight. That's the end of our severe weather threat, but still breezy conditions, very gusty winds from a whole different direction. And depending on how much wind we get in through here, especially through Appalachia, where we know they've been getting loaded with heavy rainfall. That may, it's just like a kind of a loose tooth. You're pulling it this way, pulling it that way, and then all of a sudden it comes down. We still have a chance for tree damage right through this evening before winds begin to die down later on overnight. Steph.
All right, the other part of the story, the flash flooding, right? There are multiple factors with this. Look at this in parts of northern Alabama. This is the Birmingham Metro last night, 2.8 inches, clobbering the city, filling the streets with water, 33 inches of rain in Birmingham so far this year. That is double the average. I was just thinking it's a good thing that everyone is at home and there aren't people on the roads trying to get to work with all the severe weather that is firing up right now and is going to continue, and it was happening yesterday. Here's a look over the past 24 hours. I know a lot of people had to do, Easter through video conferencing, and I'm a lot happier that everyone's kind of home and paying attention rather than on the roads and whatnot. Over the past 24 hours, flooding has been tremendous here. 3 plus 5 inches of rain, over 75 flood reports. We've had water rescues that have been ongoing, and now that rain has shifted into the northeast, and this is where we are going to see the flooding as we head through the day today. South Philadelphia, look at this, flooding on I-95 between exits 15 and 17. There's actually some lane restrictions in place, and all of this is flying northbound here, right? Again, that mid-level jet is just pushing everything into the northeast. New York, you're going to get that heavy rain. Thankfully, as all this moves into the northeast, we don't anticipate the tornadoes and, tremendous amount of severe thunderstorms, but we could have some stronger storms fire up. So you don't want to let your guard down here into the northeast, especially with the flooding situation, because that is one that's going to be top of mind, not to mention all the very strong winds that we are going to be dealing with here. But it all clears out as we head into our Tuesday morning. So we have a long day ahead of us here into the northeast. How much rain is to come? Pretty significant amount, especially along the 95 corridor, 2 to 3 inches. That is significant, Jen, when you're talking about just a 24-hour period.
Yeah, and even less than that, really.
Yeah.
Now, also following the thunderstorms this morning with heavy rain, with strong winds, with tornadoes. So let's take you into the latest warnings right now. We're watching a large severe thunderstorm warning. Alamance, Durham, and Orange counties. This is areas that have been under tornado warnings previously. There was some damage, actually, that was reported in Sutphin, and this is where emergency managers reporting significant significant tree damage. Now know that we had tree damage. This is where a tornado was reported. And we're also now still dealing with strong thunderstorm winds and heavy rain. So still a very active area. The other severe thunderstorm warning continues here.
All right, guys, as we told you about, we're going to get new pictures in. A lot of damage overnight, a lot of tornadoes as well. This is new into the Weather Channel. Massive trees ripped from the ground and snap like twigs here in Seneca, South Carolina. Debris is everywhere, blocking roads and destroying property. Dangerous storms are ripping through the south this morning as it has followed really an afternoon and evening of deadly tornadoes, damaging winds, and flooding across the deep south. And you know what? The storm threat is not over. We are watching this very strong level jet lift into the northeast. And it's interesting, Jen, the storms in the southeast kind of move off by noonish. But then the northeast, we watch storms develop in Pennsylvania, heading across New York City into New England with that threat for later on this afternoon.
And it's really a multi-threat day, actually, in the northeast because it's raining now. There's actually been some flooding happening because the rain has been so heavy. Saw that in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. It's going to be a downright windy day everywhere in the northeast. And then we get into thunderstorms. So a lot going on. Of course, very active with severe and tornado warnings ongoing now through the south. So let's take you up and down this line of thunderstorms. We go right down here into the storm cell in South Carolina. This is this long track supercell. It's not supercell. It's embedded within the line, but it's a circulation that has been long track, and we've been watching it. Colleton, Dorchester still under this tornado warning, Cottageville and Ridgeville. And look, you can see where we are getting that notch here, that circulation. Look at this area just to the north and west of Somerville, just south of the Ridgeville area, right in here. This is where we are seeing that apparent rotation based on Doppler radar. We've been watching the correlation coefficient, and over the last, I would say, 45 minutes, it's been picking up debris. It is not picking up debris right now based on this latest scan. It's good news, but we'll have to keep watch on it because we know that this particular portion of this cell has had a history of damage. So that tornado warning remains in effect. Let's go down the line and let's go into Georgia, where we have a couple of new tornado warnings. This one for Appling and Wayne County, Jessup and Odom. In that, we are looking at Doppler radar apparent rotation in this particular area. This storm moving off to the north and east. And here we go with that rotation right in there. So it's in that corner of the warning area, moving a little more east actually than it is moving to the north. All right. Also, Appling, you are under that county's under a tornado warning until 7:40 time. We track it all to the east and we track it towards Brentwood at 7:23 in Georgia, Odom 7:28, Ludowici at 7:47 and Creek Island at 7:53. Again, all of these cells have been moving very fast. You know, the slowest have been at about 50 miles per hour. So make sure you're seeking shelter immediately if you're within this area. Watches are up. Remember, watch means that the potential is there. A warning means that that weather is imminent. So you're still under a watch until lunchtime here across eastern North Carolina. We are in it right now with the very active weather. There's a whole line of thunderstorms that extends all the way down through the central part of the state. Now, just east of Pinehurst, though, tornado warning. It includes Johnsonville, Southern Pines, and Spring Lake. This is Harnett and Hoke and Moore counties. This goes until 7:45 local time. It's an elongated area where we're going to see some strong damaging winds regardless. A lot of wind damage. A lot of debris out there. Watching this move east as we get to about lunchtime. By soon after, we'll see it exiting the North Carolina coast. Steph.
Well, an ominous sight caught on camera in Laurel, Mississippi yesterday. Sirens blaring. You got to come to your television screen. This thing was massive. And by the way, there was two of these.
There it is.
You hear that right there? The damaging storm turned deadly as they tore through neighborhoods. And here's just some of the aftermath from the dangerous and deadly outbreak on Sunday. Some homes are flattened. Debris has been thrown all over, leaving a chaotic scene. And Mississippi is not the only state dealing with severe weather, but that's where we want to start you off. I mean, notice all of the, what are you looking at right here? You're actually looking at the path of two separate tornadoes that went through, and we're going to be able to show you those. They took almost the exact same path. So watch as I advance to the next scene. This is first, and then this is the second one. Okay, you'll see them come through. Look at the hook. Look at the hook. almost taking the exact same path. Just remarkable, very strong tornado, boom, just north of Laurel. There it is. And there is your second one behind it, taking about the same path for us. But that's not where it began. It all began back into Texas with the hail and the winds. In Louisiana, we had multiple reported tornadoes. The National Weather Service will have to go out and assess the situation, determining the length, the path, the size, the strength of these tornadoes. Was it one tornado? Was it multiple tornadoes? They're going to go out and do that. But again, due to COVID-19, I know some of the offices were holding back. There's also been a lot of severe weather, so you're going to have to be patient with the National Weather Service office to get this type of information due to COVID and also just the sheer number of severe weather reports. Look at this, over 300 in the past 24 hours. And remember, we've had about 40 reported tornadoes. And April's starting off here. It's kicking off, right? I mean, Jim, a lot of people typically think May is the most severe. Sometimes April beats that.
Climatologically, yes. But yes, there have been Aprils that have certainly beat that. Let's recall April 2011, shall we? Let's take a look at your big picture this morning. Again, watching our storm system, the center of it anyway, working its way into southern Quebec and Ontario. And as it continues to lift northeast, we will have storms rocketing through New England as well with a damaging wind threat. Severe storms likely down to the south. But look at the wind field. East side high wind warnings. West winds coming in behind that all the way down to the Gulf Coast and through here. You can see behind that, we've got a cold night. So once the winds die down a little bit, radiational cooling, we've got a fresh snowpack up and through here. Expect those temperatures to drop 15 to 30 degrees below average all the way down into Dallas, all the way down into Brownsville, Texas, all the way down into North Carolina. All right, guys, let's take you to Weatherstone, South Carolina. This is the Somerville area, very close to where that tornado-warned storm is moving through. All right, guys, still got active tornado warnings this morning. We will show you those in just a moment. Catastrophic destruction across south central Mississippi. A pair of violent long-track tornadoes, maybe as close as 30 miles apart, cut across the towns of North Hattiesburg on Sunday. Places like Bassfield, Laurel, Soso. I remember watching these go through these towns with a pit in my stomach. 7 deaths in Mississippi, a total of 13 across the south at this point. Reports of over 40 tornadoes from this outbreak from Texas into Tennessee and now into South Carolina. We've actually had a long track tornado, Stephanie, which is now north and west of Charleston, South Carolina.
Yeah.
Give us an update on that.
Okay, so we're going to get to that one in a second. We're going to go from north to south on this line because we have tornado warning in North Carolina. Then you have the South Carolina, what Jim was talking about, and then to Georgia, too. We're going to take you into this cell first. And again, just looking at this, or perhaps just looking at this on your phone, you might think, oh, that's just a line of storms. It's really a whole lot of nothing. But we have the ability here at the Weather Channel to show you different radars and look at different radars and look at different things on the radar as well. So here's a look right now at the velocity. And, you know, right now, we just have a strong rotation. We just have a wide rotation, I should say. We don't have that tightly packed rotation, but that doesn't mean that we don't have a tornado. When you have that rotation, you could have a tornado instantly, so you need to seek shelter immediately if you're in that tornado warning. Now, this is the one that Jim was talking about that we've been following since Walterboro, where we have had reports of damage. We did have that debris ball on the radar. We can actually see the debris on the radar, and still, look at that tight circulation, okay? There it is for you. This is our circulation, okay? That is where we do have the most circulation. Red means winds are going away. Green means towards. So think about it. Take a pencil in your hands. Away, towards, away, towards. That's rotation. You need to seek shelter. This is the one that has been on the ground for quite some time here. Thankfully, what we're showing you now is just red, but what we're looking at on this radar is for a blue dot. Okay, like we saw in Walterboro, that would indicate that there's debris. The good news with this is we're not seeing a debris signature, but we're seeing that rotation. So this could be cycling. It could kick up debris again, but it's racing off to the north and the east. These cells moving very fast, and a lot of them are rain wrapped. We're talking, 50, 55 miles an hour, and that rain is blocking it. But you can see the whole, all right, it's going to start over. It's up in Somerville now. But watch this cell as it comes through. Keep your eyes available. Here it is right there. Boom, 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 through Walterboro. And then now it's racing off into the northeast. So it's held together for us here. And that's why we're taking this very, very seriously. Now, as we go down into Georgia, we've had multiple tornado warnings as well. Again, a tornado warning means it's imminent or it's occurring. Imminent when we just show you that rotation. And look, we have right about there, there's some good rotation. Boom, you got to watch out. That is where you are going to see the potential for that tornado to be on the ground here. Again, moving off to the north and east. You have to watch out. Even if you don't get a tornado out of this, just the strong wind itself can cause damage. It lasts here in the southeast all the way through that lunchtime hour. That is when we finally will be clearing the coast, but we still see some strong thunderstorms in the northeast. We don't anticipate them being, mega tornadic, but we do have that energy. Look at this energy, all right? The yellow, can you see the yellow blob kind of underneath the radar? That's shooting up the I-95 corridor, and you can see it kind of tapers off there. But as we head into the afternoon hours, you still could see a few pops of that energy along the I-95 corridor. Tomorrow, it looks like it'll be possible. Things are, we can take a deep breath going into tomorrow here into Florida, and then even into Wednesday, Gainesville, Jacksonville, down towards Ocala is where we have the chance for, again, a few scattered thunderstorms. All right, Jen, let's go into the northeast because, yes, we could see some thunderstorms, but that large-scale wind, too.
Right. It's just going to be windy all day, and the winds are going to start ramping up through the morning and afternoon. Right now, gusting to about 22 miles per hour in New York City. You can see the raindrops on the lens of the camera, the gray skies hanging overhead. It gets windier. We could see wind gusts as high as 65 miles per hour. High wind warning here for New York City and the tri-state, and very concerned about damage from just the background winds. The fact that we've got a big old synoptic scale system causing winds across not just the northeast, but the northeast, the mid-Atlantic, the Ohio Valley, parts of the Great Lakes. Look at all this purple. This is all high wind warnings or advisory. The brighter purple are the warnings. We've got winds today that are going to be gusting up over 20, 30, 40, 50, or 60 miles per hour. And it's going to be the south wind that is the strongest wind you will see. This is all part of, we've got that very strong low-level jet, which is bringing up the moisture and the instability, really, for some of those thunderstorms to tap into. But it's going to be windy associated with it. I mean, look at Boston, 60 to 75 miles per hour. New York City, 3 o'clock, 40 to 50 miles per hour. They have that tent hospital structure set up in Central Park for COVID-19 patients. And I don't know what kind of winds it can take, but winds could gust as high as 65 miles per hour. And we take it into the evening, winds start to come down once we change to the west, but still pretty active. All right, latest warning, want to take you back here into Somerville and Moncks Corner and Corsville. Tornado warning until 8 a.m. Seek shelter.
All right, guys, let's take a live look at North Charleston, South Carolina. This is up by I-26 here. And as you can see, it is raining cats, dogs, chickens. I mean, it absolutely pouring here. And we were watching a tornadic supercell work its way just to your north and west. And we were thinking, wow, if this just flies in on 17 and comes right into Charleston, it could be nasty. But the storm turned to the north. It's weakened somewhat. There's no more confirmation of a tornado on the ground, but we did have a tornado emergency as this cell came through Walterboro. Right now, not getting reports of extensive damage, but sometimes the timing of getting, ground truth to after these happen takes a little while, especially if you can't access some of these areas. All right, so let's talk about this. This has been, with all intents and purposes, a long track tornado this morning that's gone about 60 miles, well to the west of Walterboro. It all started where it looked just incredible on radar. We had a classic hook echo. Now, as you look at the storm relative velocity, this is the wind field here. Not as strong. Certainly, we don't have that true. I mean, if you look at the gate to gate, it's not that strong at all in through here. It's a little separated. So, again, hopefully it's not producing a tornado. Hope we've just got, the rotation aloft here. And that's the other thing, too. It's getting a little bit farther away from the radar site. So we're looking up a little bit in the sky. But still, enough rotation, certainly, and enough of a history here that this could be tornado warned. I was looking at some of the normalized rotation, and that shows us, where the best storm relative velocity is. There's actually two little areas in through here. And here's the deal. If this is producing a tornado, this is a whole different animal than when it went through Walterboro and points west, because now you can't see it. It's completely wrapped in rain. All right? You won't be able to see it. Again, Walterboro, here's what we've got for you right now. Possible tornado on Hampton Road. Trees in the backyard snapped off, uprooted and gone. Part of a roof from another residence in the backyard. Power lines down. So if that's all we get, I think we're pretty lucky given what we were looking at coming that way. But either way, we feel bad for that person. Hanover, Louisiana County, we've had a lot of wind damage pushing across much of these areas. Virginia, all the way down through central North Carolina and even into the Fayetteville area. And look at this. We got some very powerful storms coming right up I-95 from Fredericksburg through Manassas into the Beltway. Tremendous rainfall. Now a severe thunderstorm warning for Dahlgren. This area, boy, this is La Plata. They talk about a magnet and through here. They're dealing with potential strong winds. Charles, King George, and St. Mary's County. Steph, over to you.
All right, daily tornadoes and severe weather tearing through cities and towns Easter Sunday into this Monday. This is Laurel, Mississippi yesterday. Many homes have been destroyed, vehicles damaged, and debris violently tossed. Now the cleanup efforts will begin, and many people will need to contact an insurance agent. Now Americans are not only dealing with the aftermath of these deadly storms, but also are in the middle of the coronavirus pandemic. So as we social distance ourselves, insurance agents are working to help you with your claims while maintaining a safe distance. State Farm catastrophe claims specialist Casey Jones joins us live right now to talk about helping people during a pandemic and a severe weather outbreak. Casey, thank you for being with us this morning. Let's talk about what we've seen over the last 24 hours, all the widespread damage of vehicles. The question everyone has right now is how can people submit a claim now that in-person filings have been suspended?
Thank you, Stephanie. Yeah, as of right now, we're, as far as State Farm family, we're trying to be there for our customers regardless. So you can still contact your agent through the phone. You can use the State Farm Pocket app. You can go to the website, and those are all going to be easy ways for them to go ahead and file the claim as normal.
All right. So how are insurance adjusters using technology to avoid face-to-face interaction?
So, yeah, as of right now, just kind of like we are today, we've got video chat platforms that we can use to contact the customer. If they've got damages to the interior of their home, we're going to have them walk us through the damages that they've noticed. They can take pictures of their car if it's damaged, take pictures of their home, submit those through the State Farm Pocket app or email, whichever they choose. So that way we can help them get their estimate set up and get them paid for the damages that they sustain.
All right, let's talk about vehicles here for a second. For vehicle claims, you're setting up a drive-through vehicle tent. How exactly does that work? And what if your vehicle isn't drivable at this point?
So as far as the tents, I'm actually sitting by one right now. If you can see it, we're setting these up so the customer will schedule that with one of our claim representatives. They're going to show up at the designated time. They're going to stay in their vehicle. One of my team members is going to guide them through the tent, inspect the vehicle, and then contact them after the inspection to tell them the results of the inspection. As far as the non-drive vehicles, we are going to utilize that technology that you mentioned to get photos. If necessary, we will contact the customer, and we may actually have some proximity inspections where the adjuster goes out there and looks at the vehicle on site, but maintaining those social distances.
Right. So if you do need to go to a customer's home, only about 30 seconds left, you are still doing that if it is a necessary, a necessary evil there, but you're keeping safety measures in place, I assume.
Yeah, absolutely. So myself and the rest of my State Farm family, we are going to make sure that we're wearing masks. We've got gloves that we wear. We are maintaining that at least 6 foot distance from even from our coworkers, because we want to make sure to keep everybody safe. But yeah, we're doing our best to follow those guidelines. All right.
State Farm catastrophe claims specialist Casey Jones, thanks for speaking with us this morning. I should have said just as a necessity is what I was trying to get out, Jen. Sorry, it's been a long morning. They're also using drones to assess some of the damage as well, Jen.
Yeah, getting as creative as they can be. Now, we're going to take you into your allergy tracker for today. The pollen is still high across the south, especially the tree pollen, but it's creeping north, Oklahoma and Arkansas. Now, Tennessee really seeing a lot of those higher levels. The grass pollen really coming north, too, into northern and central parts of Alabama, into Mississippi. You'll notice that grass pollen here as you're outside today. A lot of folks being outside to do cleanup. Now, let me take you back to the radar. We do have this active tornado warning still for Berkeley and Moncks Corner. The rotation is apparent on radar, and then that's within an area of strong damaging winds, too.
All right, guys, watching active severe thunderstorms across the south this morning, but the damage has been done since yesterday afternoon. Look at it. How often do you see this? You're talking about power outages now in excess of 1.3 million customers. And pretty much everybody from Texas all the way to North Carolina is in this red area. So you're talking about, over 100,000 people, or customers, I should say, without power. And we're going to have more where this came from, I believe, across the very heavily populated I-95 corridor. So let's talk about it. You can see this strong line of storms working all the way up through D.C. with warnings, again, south and east of the district, down toward Chesapeake Bay and La Plata. Strong low-level jet advancing that moisture to the north. We've got a tornado warning in through a couple of them, actually. This is the one in North Carolina, Vance and Warren. So if you live in Henderson, Norlena, or South Henderson, keep an eye on this. Here's the storm back here. You can see there is actually a pretty tight little couplet. Greg, do we have a dropout by any chance in this? Just want to check out. And what I mean by dropout is when you look at all this color here, you see how uniform it is? That's rain. All right, it's all rain everywhere else. If there was a dropout, we've got a tornado. We've got something different than raindrops that the radar is picking up. And we've been seeing these drop. We had at one point this morning, I can't remember if it was 4 or 5 dropouts on the radar, which I could not believe, especially for a morning. But either way, let's keep an eye on it. It could produce a tornado at any time, heading up toward Adcock Crossroads, Norlena, or eventually up toward Littleton as well, just to the south of Henderson as we speak. All right, this has been a strong cluster of storms. It's moved north of Valdosta over towards Savannah. This hasn't been a long track tornado, but it's been a long track supercell. It's had at least some semblance of rotation as it's moved to the east. It's north of Charleston here. Oh, this is the other one. This is the one that's actually moved about 60, 70 miles now. Probably stopped producing a continual tornado on the ground west of Somerville, but it's come all the way over toward Cordellsville and continues to work its way potentially into the Georgetown area. Notice we've got severe thunderstorm warnings out for the northern part of the line. So even if you don't get the tornado part of this, which by the way is rain wrapped, so you won't see it if it's producing a tornado, there's a lot of wind energy in through here, 60, 70 mile per hour winds that can come through and obviously cause damage. All right, here's the Georgia cell. Down to the south, this has been a kind of a long track supercell. You can see it in here, kind of wrapped up. There's a little hole in the middle of it. So nice inflow coming in, air on the back side of this, rather broad, but still enough so that you would issue it. If you're the operation forecaster, you're going to issue this. It's going to come across 119 and probably just to the south or very close to Midway, and eventually that's the I-95 area. So please keep that in mind. Liberty, Long counties right now under that particular warning. So it's a solid line, and like the storm I showed you that's heading toward Georgetown, it is going to be rain wrapped. All of the best signatures of rotation are within the rain, and you saw some of the rain coming down in Charleston earlier. It is pouring. You will not be able to see this at all. Strong storms down through Valdosta, moving through Tallahassee, all the way down to Apalachicola, coming in towards St. Mark's as well, literally all the way down into the Gulf of Mexico and through here. We'll keep an eye on these as the tornado warning continues all the way down here just to the northwest of Cross City. We still got a long morning ahead of us with these storms, but hopefully by lunchtime, a lot of this will be moving off, but we're not done with our threat. Potentially up to the north. We will watch things move into New England, eastern Pennsylvania, New Jersey as well as that secondary area, which you can just see west and south of Parkersburg that comes into play. Just a solid, look at 95 or 85 up through Richmond, 95. Just absolutely soaked up through Philly into New York City. Tremendous amounts of rain, strong lightning and thunderstorms coming through Atlantic City, Cape May, and working their way up toward Toms River. So far, no damage reports from what we've seen, but Steph, we know the low-level jet itself has 50 to 70 mile-an-hour winds, so we could get non-thunderstorm winds.
This is a monster low-level jet. By the way, that's what helped kick off this. Look at the damage. This is in Laurel, Mississippi. We were live on air. In fact, Jim came into the studio last night, was live on air, said there was a debris ball on the radar signature for an hour, and there was 2 mammoth cells. Now, notice that's a brick house. Now, here I want to explain to you how this all works. When it's hurricane season, we say, oh, it's a Cat 1, Cat 2, Cat 5 when it's coming in. With a tornado, what the Weather Service will do is they'll use drone video, they'll get in helicopters, they'll walk the path, and they'll look at the type of damage that they have. How big was the structure? How sturdy was the structure? What type of damage do we have to the structure? Like this one, the roof is gone, right? So that will determine the strength of the tornado. Now, remember, tornadoes strengthen and weaken along their path. They get bigger, they get smaller. It's not just on the ground and go. But notice where you want to be in a home when a tornado hits. See, you want to be in the interior section, away from the windows, away from those exterior walls, and the lowest level of the home, because typically you see that roof ripped off and that second level ripped off. Not saying that this was a 2-story building. I'm just using this as an example, but you want to be in that most interior section. That's That's where you would be the most protected. This is just one home. We have Charles Peak out there assessing the damage and bringing us live pictures like this throughout the morning. And he's been with these storms throughout the evening hours. But notice that looks like a brick structure. Doesn't that look like brick walls there? And
yes.
So the Weather Service will take that into consideration. Now, it's going to take a while for them to go out and assess because we've had over 40 reported tornadoes in the last 24 hours. And I don't know how COVID-19 is also affecting these offices. So we have to take that into consideration and be very patient. But this is some of the damage from some of the worst tornadoes via radar that we saw yesterday. We can't just say, oh, it was EF4, EF3, EF whatever, rating by just looking at the radar. But when we look at the radar and we see a classic tornado signature versus just maybe a little signature, we're like, yeah, that's probably a tornado. We can say that this one was a big one and it was destructive. There's some more homes. Look at the trees have been ripped as well, but a lot of damage here in Mississippi. We'll continue with live video. All right, well, we want to show you what happened here in Laurel, Mississippi. Look at that damage. Winds from a tornado caused this destruction. It's some sort of building that is just, you can only see the inside now. I don't even know where the building is located. But again, we had two huge tornadoes that were in southern Mississippi passing through and near the Laurel, Mississippi area yesterday. They were your classic supercells. Debris ball, Jim was reporting for an hour with these, and we have had a lot of damage. And this is a live look via drone of some of the damage that we're starting to see with the daylight hours today. There's a lot of tree damage. Homes, roofs are gone and completely exposed. Oh, look at that in the tree high up. You can see some of the sheet metal wrapped around the tree. You can see the debris that's been thrown from this. The National Weather Service will go out and assess the damage from this. How strong it was will be determined by the type of damage it's done to homes and businesses. But look at that sheet metal fully wrapped around that tree. That is quite a sight to see. And it was quite a sight to see these huge tornado signatures on the radar yesterday. Welcome into AMHQ on this very busy morning. I'm meteorologist Stephanie Abrams alongside meteorologist Jim Cantori and Jen Carfagno. We still have severe weather ongoing right now. One of those hard hit areas in Mississippi. Meteorologist Mike Seidel will be joining us live from a little bit later this morning. But Jim, it looks as if we might have a tornado on the ground right now, still in South Carolina from that cell we've been following for what, at least an hour now.
Yeah, it definitely had a long track tornado with it earlier. I don't know if there was been a break in it, but we got reports out of Walterboro and also Monk's Corner of damage, okay, and some of it unknown at this time. So this could very well still be going. It's definitely ramped up a little bit. You can see the two storms that we're talking about. As a matter of fact, this one here goes all the way back toward Valdosta. So we've watched two long track supercells this morning. One of them likely a long track tornado, possibly both of them. Sometimes you just don't get all the information in that you need to assess that. That's what the Weather Service will do after this thing. Georgetown, Williamsburg. So notice Georgetown now, you are in this. Unfortunately, what has happened is the storm has ramped up a little bit. So again, where we look at all this reflectivity, and I'm going to color in where it's absolutely pouring rain and ask Greg to show us where we have the storm relative velocity. This is where the inflow is coming in and circulating right here near the Jamestown area. And that's right in the middle of the rain. So again, now this is rain wrapped. It's a whole different animal than it was when it was west of Walterboro, where it was a classic hook echo like you would see in the Midwest. Again, kind of looking at it in through here. Let's show everybody the debris, the dropout in through here, Greg, which we had earlier. So we may have to come back a couple of scans to see this. Maybe this is it, just down to the south of Jamestown. So that could be it down and through there. But there was a much clearer signature, especially near the town of Bethera, which is, south of Jamestown. So that's it right there. So Bethera to Jamestown. So here's what this thing has done as it's tracked over Walterboro, Somerville, and now kind of taken a little bit of a left turn from Somerville up to Monk's Corner. So you notice how, we've almost got a little bit of a left turner here. So spotter there reporting 2 individuals trapped in a house, 2 trees. The Low Country Airport also has unknown damage. Greg told me earlier 49-mile-per-hour gusts there. So that'll be interesting to see what happens especially when they report that possible tornado. Again, Monk's Corner, 2 homes sustaining major damage. All right, now we're down into Georgia. We are southwest of Savannah. This is Bryan, Liberty, Long counties, Midway, Richmond Hill, Watherville. This too, if we've got a tornado in here, you look at the rainfall. Tremendous rain there. The signature is right in the middle of that rain, so you're not going to be able to see it. It's a rain-wrapped tornado if it's in fact on the ground. I checked just before I came on the air. It's near Riceboro, Midway. If it's heading your way, again, you're not going to be able to see this tornado. It's not super tight, but it's enough, obviously, to induce the tornado warning on the algorithm. This heads northeast again, Midway, Belfast, Myrtle Grove. Some timelines for you here on the left-hand side of this. Greg, is there any dropout? Because you've probably gotten a new scan since I started my radar. So nothing certainly clear-cut here with this with this thing, at least at this time. So keep an eye on that. Back down through Jessup, Patterson, just a solid line. Look at this moving through Waycross. Big wind in through there. Then it goes all the way down again through Valdosta. Plenty of heavy rain here. We actually got a new tornado warning, which has just come out in Lanier, Loudons County. Let's find out where this thing is, because if you look at the reflectivity, doesn't tell you anything. It looks like heavy rain in through here. Is there something back in here right over Valdosta? Let's take a look. Let's take a look at the signature. Nothing clear for maybe something right here. Maybe something right back in there, very, very small. It looks like another one north of Naylor. Sometimes these signatures come and go in scans, especially when they're a part of the main line themselves. Greg, what is this down here to the south of the radar? That's kind of an interesting little animal. I'm just kind of looking at this. I'm kind of going over this as we talk about. So this is Charlton, Clinch, Ware counties. Let's look at the storm relative velocity. Yeah, there's a little inflow in through here. Not circulation, certainly not enough to be tornado worn down. But the fact that that one's on its own like that means it gets kind of free reign, if you will, of the atmosphere and potentially the stronger instability that's down toward the south. Again, guys, solid line. Back through the I-10 corridor, east of Tallahassee now, down through St. Mark's, down again just through Sopchoppy, and continuing all the way just to the east of Apalachicola. Just a solid line of not only rain and lightning and thunder, but also of severe thunderstorm warnings within what is a large area of tornado watches, which extends from Apalachicola all the way up to the Virginia state line and into Richmond. All right, Jen, we're not done with this thing yet. Over to you.
No, we certainly are not. We're going to take you into that forecast. We're going to take you right now, though, into some new drone video that we are getting from Soso, Mississippi. So this is the other area, very hard hit right here. And you can see tremendous damage, structural damage, roof ripped off, portion of it anyway, from this home. And you can see down into it. And look at the debris just strewn across the yard, trees that are snapped, metal that is bent. And we know now that 18 people have died in the severe storms, 11 of them here in Mississippi. And unfortunately, this was a very hard-hit area. There were numerous homes, if not even hundreds of homes, that were impacted across this area. We're getting a closer view from Charles Peak here from a drone perspective of the roof damage of this particular home. And, from what we've been seeing, it has been, some houses have had more destruction than others, but it has been significant. In this case, you can see that roof just ripped off in a piece, an entire piece, and a lot of debris laying across the yard. You can see the vehicle on the driveway and a lot of yard debris down across this area as well. Next house next door, you can also see, has a portion of its roof that appears to be compromised as well. The damage in this house does not appear as significant as the one next door. And that's the case with tornado damage, right? It is not uniform, not to say the least. In the forecast for today, we want to continue watching that risk for severe weather into the South Georgia, northern Florida. We're also going to be watching thunderstorms eventually develop up here into the north and east. For now, it has been just mainly rain and heavy rain at that, but we will expect thunderstorms to develop as we get into the next couple of hours. I think the D.C. area already, your dew points are up in the 60s. You've got that chance of thunderstorms coming in here before even lunchtime as we watch that instability surge north. For us in the South, where thunderstorms are ongoing, you've got another couple hours of it, and then we watch it head off the coast. Charleston, by 11 o'clock, those storms are east. Jacksonville, you're stuck in some showers through the afternoon, but in terms of severe weather, we are going to see improvement by early afternoon. afternoon here. Then jumping up to the north and east where we've had very heavy rain, in fact, flooding rain around Philadelphia, I-95. There's a couple of exits between 15 and 17, I think, where 95 itself has had some standing water on it. Heavy rain, there's plain old rain, but we get into these thunderstorms. Watch the instability surging north. Once you get that yellow background color that we have, that's the instability for thunderstorms to feed into, and that goes north as we get to lunchtime and soon after. So these thunderstorms that will develop across central Pennsylvania, Scranton, Williamsport, Harrisburg, York, around Philadelphia, New York City, and the tri-state, these could be severe, damaging winds, the potential there. There is a tornado risk as well. We've got 5s on the Torcons as far north as Northern Virginia. Now it's a 3 right up here into Pennsylvania, and then into even New York State, getting into, say, places like Binghamton, a 2 on the Torcon. Steph.
And tornado sirens blaring in the early morning in North Georgia. This is Woodstock. We just ended up with rain and wind here, but you really shouldn't rely on those tornado sirens during severe weather because you need to have multiple ways to be alerted. Those sirens are really just for outside, and especially if you're sleeping, you're really not going to hear those inside. So keep that weather radio and your phone alerted. We now are having reports of 14 deaths due to this storm. We're now just hearing there's been 11 in Mississippi, 6 in Georgia. Those are the states with the highest deaths that we've seen here. All right, we have a new tornado warning. If you live in Charleston, just south of Charleston, heads up. This is the cell that we are seeing. Seabrook Island, everything moving off to the north and the east, as you can see. Very strong winds associated with this. This almost looks like we're going to have some straight line winds. I was just looking at, there we go. I was just looking at the winds with this. We do have a broad rotation. We don't have anything tight just yet. Perhaps right around there, though. Yeah, Greg, good eye with that. This is where we have that rotation. It's a broad rotation, but you could have a tornado at any time. Again, those winds coming in, maybe it's that, rear inflow, that wind coming in here to spin this thing up. But if you live in, Edisto Beach, Seabrook Island, up towards Charleston, be aware and seek shelter immediately if you're within this warning. And the video we were just showing you out of Mississippi reminds us, interior, lowest level of your home, away from those windows. And as we take you a little bit north of there, Andrews, Georgetown, we are also under tornado warnings, Jamestown as well, as we're watching this cell. And again, as we look at the winds there, it is a broad rotation, but again, even if it's a broad rotation, that tightens up real quick. You have a tornado and you're in trouble. So we'll continue to watch that. And within that, look at it, severe thunderstorm warnings. I mean, they're just side by side overlapping each other. You can get significant damage with these, winds coming out of these storms, 50, 60 miles an hour, that could do significant damage like an EF0 or an EF1. Everything finally clears off as we head around that lunchtime hour, but it does take some time. Raleigh, Chapel Hill, Durham, we're starting to slow down a little bit here, but Oxford, we're on the back end. Henderson, we're seeing some rain, but also on the back end. And the good news is once you do get through this big batch, you are done and done. You will be okay through the rest of the day here. So Richmond, we still have a little bit more to go. You can see the rain is just to our south. That's the other thing. Flooding, blinding rain associated with this. So with a lot of these tornadoes, you're not going to be able to see them, and they're going to come quick. Norfolk, the Tidewater region, we stay unsettled really until we head much later in the day. And the farther north we go, the longer that this lasts. Baltimore, D.C., all the way into the northeast, this stuff hangs around. We've got to get that upper trough through, Jim, which is the other thing. That's going to help kick off the showers as we head through the day.
Yeah, several rounds for D.C. potentially. A path of destruction left behind by dangerous storms that hit over the holiday weekend. This morning, Jefferson Davis County in Mississippi recovering after a deadly tornado killed 3 people. Meteorologist Mike Sedell is live in Bassfield, where people are waking up to extensive damage there, Mike. And I remember being on the air last night when this thing was coming through. Big debris ball, big classic hook echo moving through. Show us what this thing has left behind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Jim, remember, it was so unusual because we had this one tornado emergency, you were on the air, and then we had another one on the heels about 20 to 25 minutes later. This was the first long-track supercell tornado, and Doppler radar estimated winds 170 to 205. I can tell you, looking around at the trees that have been just leveled, and this cafeteria or this little cafe restaurant that has been blown off its foundation, this is definitely, I would without a doubt say this is at least EF4 more damage. So some very strong winds. And unfortunately, this is where the 3 people were killed at this little cafe. We've talked to some locals who live down this road. They're okay. They got to safety. And I asked the gentleman, well, what about the 3 here? He says, well, they were just outside lounging. The cafe wasn't open, and they got caught. The tornado warning for here in Jefferson, Davis County, Lawrence counties came out at about 4:10. They had about an 8 to 10 minute warning here for this one. The next one, about a half an hour later, was a little north of here and caused more damage. But this first one is the first monster that moved on through here. The debris ball, based on Doppler, was throwing, the tornado was picking up debris and throwing it 20 to 30,000 feet up in the air. So this is one of those kind of tornadoes that just basically levels everything. And you can see that everything has been flattened. Cars have been flipped out here. We're just outside of town, about 3 miles outside of Bassfield, and about a half an hour west-northwest of Hattiesburg, Mississippi. This town only has about 215 people, so it's a very small town, very rural. And we talked to some other locals, and they're concerned there could be more fatalities because there are many roads out here that you can't get down because of all the trees that have been blown down. So hopefully that's not the case, but we've got emergency management officials and power crews out here right now, Jim, looking at the situation. But yesterday, I'm listening to you on the air, just amazing how the cap broke near Macomb, and this first tornado just exploded like a nuclear bomb.
Yeah, and then to watch another one maybe move within 20 miles of the first one where people didn't have power. Mike, we appreciate that report. Keep finding things out, certainly around Bassfield, Sosa, Heidelberg. So many towns in these areas that were hit pretty hard. 38 million, by the way, under wind alerts today. Some, of course, dealing with the tornadoes yesterday. Some of you that will deal with wind this afternoon. Of course, getting power back on for the 1.3 million is going to be more difficult. More than 20 states will be blasted by gusts. In the Windy City, winds can reach 30 to 35 miles per hour. That's certainly something that you can see. But how about Boston? 60 to 75 miles per hour. So even without a thunderstorm, we could have damaging wind there. You can see these alerts as they show, all the way down toward the Gulf Coast. Our low is continuing to deepen. It will be yet another sub 970 millibar low. That's a deep low pressure, especially inland. All right, it's going to move up again north of Lake Superior and into Canada, but you can see the wind field all the way down into South Carolina as cold air advects in, and we kind of bring you back to reality here after it has been a very warm March and really early April across the south. So south winds today, that's the other thing too. We're going to go from south to west. And unfortunately, those south winds today will be strong enough to do damage, and then the west winds will be strong enough to do damage. So think about it. You've pushed a tree that's in water this way, then you turn around and push it the other way. We could actually have more tree damage and more power loss through Appalachia this afternoon and early this evening. All right, guys, new video. We'll continue to get that probably a good part of today and even tomorrow. This is in from North Carolina, the Charlotte area getting crushed as thunderstorms move through the area. Flash flood emergency 100 miles to the northwest of that. That's up in the mountains, Boone, North Carolina. Homes, schools, businesses reportedly taking on water. Unofficially, as much as 5 inches of rain triggered the flash flood in that mountainous location. So, Jen, it's kind of, sometimes when we get all these severe thunderstorm warnings and tornado warnings, the flooding part of this gets a little undersold.
I know.
But we've had a lot of flooding from Mississippi all the way up into Appalachia.
Yeah, East Tennessee, Western North Carolina, now in Virginia. There has been some water rescues overnight, and there's certainly some roads that are closed because of flooding. Also very active, though, still on the radar with tornado warnings still in Georgia. We go down to South Georgia, and this is the cell that's showing a lot of rotation. Thankfully, it's over marshland because it is definitely showing rotation based on Doppler radar. You can zoom into it, and let me look at this right here where you've got these blues and reds and greens right next to each other. But for Bryan and Liberty County, you are under tornado warning. I want to tell you, especially in Savannah, because I know you're watching this here just off to your south, it is moving to the east. It will not be moving up to the north. It is moving to the east here, heading off the coast. So watching that, let's go up along the line. We still have this tornado watch that is active for the low country of South Carolina. This goes until 11 o'clock around the Charleston area. Let's zoom in there and take a look at this tornado warning. This is down around Edisto Beach where the initial circulation was, so pretty far south actually. And again, the general motion has been more east. This moving a little more to the north and east. Hollywood, Meggett, and sorry if I mispronounced that, Guadalajara Island, that are under this tornado warning right now. It is Doppler radar indicated rotation that we're watching right here. You can see it now moving away from Edisto, but on this path we take it up towards Seabrook Island. So we will see if it holds together. Kiowa, you're just outside of that tornado warning, but tracking it towards you is about 8:35 local time. I would seek shelter. This has been a very active morning. For any warning, I would seek shelter here if you are nearby. Charleston itself has just been so windy. Winds at the airport have gusted to I think the peak I saw so far is 47, but it's since last night we've been gusting over 30 miles per hour, and now the thunderstorms have come through, so any tree branches weakened will be coming down by these nastier thunderstorms. Let's go back up to Georgetown here in South Carolina, where we are under a tornado warning until 8:30 local time. Been watching this cell too, showing us some apparent radar, Doppler radar indicated rotation. The watch does continue here in North Carolina until noon today. Steph.
Some of the strongest and most violent tornadoes appear to have cut through south central Mississippi. One family survived thanks to a concrete cinder block safe room. Let's talk to Andrew Phillips of Laurel, Mississippi. He's joining us from the nearby town of Rickton. Andrew, thank you for being with us this morning. Let's start off with how your family is doing. How much damage did you have to your home, and is everyone safe and secure?
Everyone's safe and secure. We have a total loss of our home, our business, our vehicles, everything's a total loss.
We are so sorry.
But we made it out safe. From the good Lord protected us.
Yeah, I'm glad that you all survived, and we're showing your concrete room. It's incredible. It is literally the only thing standing in your house. What prompted you to build that tornado safe room?
We had just bought the house about 2 months prior to this, and it was inside it. That's one reason we bought the house, was for the room.
So how much time did you have to get in the safe room? How much warning did you have?
We had about an hour from when I first tuned in to our local weather channel, watching it come up from Bass Field. And the closer it got, I was listening to my fire radio because I'm also with the fire department. And they said it hit so-so. When it hit so-so, I stepped outside, looked, seen it was coming. I heard it was coming. I told my wife to grab my kids, get in the room, and I went in the room. I said, "You got any more pillows?" She said, "No." I went to our bedroom. By the time I got to our bedroom, grabbed some more pillows, it was already hitting. I jumped back in the next room where the safe room was, and I was in the room maybe 20 seconds when it started, and all I could do was just hunker down and push down on my wife and my kids. I've got a 2-year-old and a 6-month-old.
Wow. Could you hear anything that was going on outside? What was it like being in that safe room, and how long did you have to stay in it?
We was in the safe room about 2 minutes. It sounded like a helicopter. At first, when it was first coming, it did sound like a freight train. But whenever it got there, it sounded like a helicopter just roaring over us. Halfway through it, I looked up, and I seen that our house was gone. The sand, the dirt started hitting us, covering us, and I just kept pushing down on my kids, praying that we'd come out alive.
Yeah, Andrew Phillips, we are so glad that you and your family did survive this, and we are so sorry for the loss of your house. You know, Jim, people say it's just stuff, but their entire house is gone.
And especially with what else we got going on. I mean, all right, guys, a lot of stuff to talk about here. First of all, 700 miles of continuous tornado warnings. Let's go into this storm here near Tybee Island because it does have very strong rotation on it. It's rain-wrapped. All right, it's going to come very close to Tybee Island and through here. And emergency manager says, hey, we got a tornado debris signature on this. We'll show you that next. All right, guys, looking live at Folly Beach in South Carolina. Wet weather moving in, rain, wind, and we do have tornado warnings in this area as well. One that's south of Tybee and the other one near Kiowa. That there's a tornado. There's a dropout in the correlation coefficient that shows there may have been a tornado on the ground coming just to the south of Disto Beach. Let's get an update on these storms, Steph, as they move their way toward the seacoast.
Yeah, so let's show you what's happening right here. And again, here's Charleston. Just to give you an idea of what we're looking at, there's Charleston, which was been like flanked by tornado warnings all day. There's Folly Beach, right? That's where Jim was mentioning. And, you know, I'm not sure exactly which direction that camera was pointing at, but we're in that tornado warning. Again, these cells, these are going to produce waterspouts if they, you know, go offshore. And again, remember, as we look, here's your rotation. Red means winds are going away from the radar. Green means towards. Pick up a pencil, a pen, away, towards, and you've got that rotation. So here is your rotation right now. And this is why we need you to seek shelter immediately. We've been showing you all that damage video via drones from the storms in Mississippi to show you the interior is where you are the absolute safest. Again, going off to the northeast here. So be careful if you live in Kiowa, you know, all the way up into Folly Beach and even Ocean View as well. Now, as we go a little bit farther south, we're going to take you into Savannah, Tybee Island. Again, here's a look at the radar. And here at the Weather Channel, we have the ability to show you multiple different radars. This just looks like a good old blob of rain. But if you switch up the radars, you can see that rotation. So there you go. There it is. There's your rotation, right? And so this is what we are concerned about. And when you have a tornado warning, that means a tornado is imminent or it's occurring, okay? And when you have that, you see that rotation like that, you could have a tornado within seconds. So there you go. Watch out Montgomery, Skidway Island, and also into Wilmington. You're in that as well. All right, now we go again here. We want to take you into Whiteville. This is in North Carolina, by the way. The Highway Patrol has reported a tornado on the ground. So it doesn't take much. Again, this might just look like a big blob of rain to you, but as we look at the different radars, we can see that rotation and look for it here. So there's our rotation right in there, and we're watching. There it is, okay? You see it moving? So it's coming together. Boom, there it is a little bit brighter. So we're going to follow all these storms. It's going to take really the entire morning into the early afternoon to sweep them off the coast here. We still have that big trough, and not to mention just the synoptic scale winds that we have here across much of the East Coast. Jim, we still have some of that instability, and that will creep into the Northeast. Won't be as bad in the Northeast, but we could still see some thunderstorms.
Absolutely. Got to keep an eye on it, guys. This morning, Jefferson Davis County, Mississippi, recovering after a deadly tornado killed 3 people. Meteorologist Mike Sedell is live in the Bassfield area, just one of several small towns hit last evening where people are waking up to extensive damage. Mike, you know, you've been out on enough of these. What type of damage are you seeing? Structural, trees, and things like that?
Let's give you a little tour here of the fatal scene from yesterday late afternoon. This was a cafe, a local cafe here in the corner outside of town, and there were 3 outside, and then they went inside, and they unfortunately perished here. 3 of the deaths here in Jeff Davis County were here on this corner. We pan around, and Jim, look at the trees. You've seen this before. I mean, they are just sheared off, and between that and this cafe damage, thinking at least EF4 damage. And in the distance, you see power companies. They're walking up and down the road, Graves Keys Road, trying to figure out where the poles were. That's how bad it is out here. So we've got a bunch of power crews out here. We've talked to many locals that live down the road where I'm standing, William Harper Road. Their homes are in pretty bad shape, but they came out okay, and that's what counts. They got the warning in time. The warning originally came out at 4:10 Central Time, and it was about 10 minutes later before it touched down in this part of Jefferson Davis County. Over to our west, Lawrence County got hit, then Jeff Davis County. And again, this is the first of 2 long-track monster tornadoes. If you can imagine a tornado packing winds of estimated by Doppler radar 170 to 205 miles an hour, and that sucker is moving 60 to 70 miles an hour. So it's like a giant buzzsaw, you know, just grinding away through the landscape here in southern Mississippi. The fortunate thing is it is very rural. If this had come through a subdivision, no doubt the death toll would have been a lot worse. So the cleanup gets underway today. We'll wait for the surveys. So they're trying to get the power back on out here. Power has been restored in some areas around Bassfield, Jim, but it's going to be a long time before they can get some of these power poles back up and the power back on. But again, these stands of trees, Jim, you've seen this before. It's got to be at least high-end EF3 or EF4 just by the trees alone.
And economically, behind casinos, timber is the big moneymaker, if you will, for the state of Mississippi. Thank you, Michael. Let's talk about what we got going on here in Charleston. If you live in Kiowa, Seabrook Island, strong storm right over the top of you right now. Kiowa, it's coming toward you, moving off to the northeast. There has been, especially south of Edisto, a debris signature on the radars. Be careful. All right, guys, new video, extensive damage in the Chattanooga, Tennessee area. Bricks and the foundation of what seems to be a house just, crumbled to the ground. This is just part of the damage left behind by the destructive storms that slammed the area overnight. This went all the way over to Cleveland, Tennessee, and caused damage there as well. We still have an active morning. We've had a couple of long track supercells, potentially a long track tornado as well. To the north and west of Charleston that we know has done damage into the Walterboro area. So here's what we've got for you. Currently 3 tornado warnings out, very close to the seacoast of Georgia and also South Carolina. Wilmington, I guess that's close too. Population under the warnings, 14.4 million. So we're getting a little less of them, but lightning strikes in the last 15 minutes. No shortage of those, Steph. That's double the last time I showed you this frame.
Yeah, and what is that an indication of?
Intensification.
It's still cranking.
Still cranking.
You know? And so you can look at lightning. Lightning is a good indication if you want to just take a quick glance. Oh, is this thing dying down or is this thing still cranking or cranking up? What do you think about this? Yeah, that convection means it is still cranking here. Multiple tornado warnings all along this, and not to mention severe thunderstorm warnings. So we want to take you down to this one here that is just to the south of Charleston on into Folly Beach. This cell, again, a lot of lightning. And by the way, if this is over the water, then it is a water spout. A water spout and a tornado, remember, the same thing. It just depends on where they are. So let's have a look at our rotation here. Perhaps there it is, moving up just like on the northern piece of this tornado warning. So it kind of, you see it right here? There's your rotation, all right? So that is moving off to the north and the east. You need to seek shelter immediately. You can't really see that. You have to look at different radars in order to be able to see that. But all along the coast here, we have severe thunderstorm warnings and yet another tornado warning as we cross over the border into Georgia. And again, all very close to the coast and looks like a big blob of rain right now. But we can look and see, do we have that rotation? How tight is that? Look at that rotation right there. That is much more significant than what we were just showing you. Not that you should let your guard down in South Carolina, because all it takes is 1 second for that tornado to be on the ground. But this is a significant, more detailed rotation for us here, moving off to the northeast, Tybee Island. You're in the path of this again. If this hits the water, then it's called a water spout. But water spout and tornado, the exact same thing, just different areas, different locations. Baltimore, D.C., rain's coming through. You're not finished with it, though. We are going to see more rain coming through here, the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast, Jen, because we have our surface feature we still have to get through, and then we have the upper level feature that has got to swing through as well.
Yeah, no, we're in this through today up here. Now, meanwhile, the weather has finally quieted down here in East Tennessee as trail destruction from the overnight storms. This morning, Chattanooga, Tennessee is still under a tornado emergency, and joining us on the phone is Fire Chief Phil Hyman with the Chattanooga Fire Department. And Chief, thanks for joining us. Can you give us an update on the damage that you are seeing, that you have seen from these strong storms?
Well, we're seeing widespread damage just east of the 75 corridor in the Ottawa region and East Brainerd region. We've had about 150 homes damaged at the last assessment. We're kind of transitioning from the rescue phase into the recovery phase and damage assessment phase. So we're just now, as daylight's breaking, being able to go out and really assess the extent of the damage.
Can you talk about the search and rescue, though? Has that been completed? And what about the number of injuries?
The number of injuries, we've had about 17 injuries that we know that we've transported. We're still in that recovery phase or an investigation phase, trying to go through houses one by one. We've actually assigned teams to go to specific grid areas to do more detailed searches. At current, that's where we're at. We started that operational period at 0700 this morning. We'll continue to 1900 tonight, and just try to determine what needs we actually have.
In terms of the damage, is it damage to homes, to subdivisions, to businesses? What are we dealing with?
Yeah, out of 150 structures that we've seen damage, it's been between residential and commercial buildings, primarily residential. We've had a number of roofs blown off, a lot of houses completely destroyed, and pretty wide path of complete destruction.
What has been the biggest challenges your crews are facing as you go through this morning?
Well, the biggest challenges that we faced, of course, the storm blew in just a little before midnight, and that's when things got extremely busy for us. just trying to determine what the extent of the damage was and trying to make sure that we got to all the 911 calls that we got there. When that's been our challenge since around midnight. The next challenge now is just really trying to do a detailed assessment of all the different houses and all the different structures that we are, and make sure that we've gotten everybody and everybody's accounted for. That's our next challenge.
People who are displaced, where are they going? Are their shelters open?
We have a YMCA here in Brainerd that is our reunification center as well as a shelter. We're working with local churches to come up with some more shelters if those are needed. So we're still in that prep phase to make sure that that happens.
Well, Fire Chief Phil Hyman with the Chattanooga Fire Department, thank you for the update this morning and wish you the best there as you continue your recovery this morning, Steph.
All right, it's time now for your allergy tracker, and it's pretty rough out there, especially in the south for tree and grass pollen. There it is for you. Hey, at least a tree is starting to wane a little bit in the deep south with the exception of the Carolinas. That grass pollen, though, is cranking along that I-10 corridor. And by the way, that I-10, I-20 corridor is where we've seen a lot of severe weather over the last 24 hours. And we're going to take you live now to Soso, Mississippi. This is where we did have one of those huge tornadoes go through last night. 18 people have died in the storm. 11 of those, by the way, have been in the state of Mississippi. So what the Weather Service will do is use drone video like this. They will walk the path and they will determine the strength of this tornado. They have to look at the damage it's done, the type of building, did it have brick walls, did it not, and then they will determine the type of tornado it is. This is a school. I'm not sure of the exact name of the school, but as you can see, thankfully, say it again. What was the school name? Now we're going to take you to Myrtle Beach. Sorry about that. Here we have the clouds and that stormy weather coming in.
All right, guys, all those storms we've been watching fire up back in Arkansas, Texas, Oklahoma have now finally made their way toward the seacoast. But we still have active warnings out there. Almost 700 continuous miles here of active either severe thunderstorm or tornado warnings still sprinkled in to South Carolina. So let's show you these again as they come toward the beaches, in toward Myrtle Beach and through here. We've still got Georgetown and Horry County, Garden City, Myrtle Beach, Socastee, all these areas again dealing with what could be just a quick spin up here as these storms move offshore. Be careful, Garden City on up toward Myrtle. We take you and show you the storm relative velocity field. Looks like maybe one of the best couplets has just moved east of Garden City. That's great news because that means the chance for a tornado has done so as well. And there it is, right offshore. Now, if there's a tornado with it, is a water spout. Still some strong winds, though, and very heavy rain moving through Myrtle Beach proper as well. North Myrtle Beach as well, just getting absolutely soaked in through here. All right, we take you up toward Wilmington. Strong winds. Earlier on, we had winds gusting over almost 70 miles per hour near the Lumberton area. That's the same stuff that's now moving down through here. Notice it's moving more north than east. But you see in here, there's a little bit of a loop. So there's a surge in the wind field, and we'll see how close that gets to Winfield, or Wilmington, I should say. G-Dom, just for, let's look at the storm relative out of this. I just want to see what we've got if we get a little rotation. It's weak. There's a little rotation there, but let's keep an eye on it as it moves toward Wilmington. All right, let's go down south of Charleston here to Kiowa, where we've got that storm. It's probably offshore now as it works its way to the east. There it is right there, heading toward Kiowa. Of course, this came in toward Disto Beach and Seabrook as well with some pretty strong rotation. Looks like something's right here moving in the northern part of this warning right now. Charleston, again, the threat's over for you in terms of any type of tornado warning. Again, anything here moving offshore, as is the cell, which is really the strongest one, down toward Tybee Island. That has also moved offshore, but there could be a water spout with this right out in here, okay, just to the south of Tybee as it continues to work its way off toward the east. Again, line extending down through Brunswick, continuing south through Fargo, continuing south again just east of St. Mark's. Wow, just an incredible line in through here, Steph. Now we get cooler and we keep an eye on this area for tomorrow. Over to you.
All right, well, tornadoes tore through Chattanooga in the early hours of this morning. The Weather Channel's Dave Malkoff has a look at the damage.
This is the Lantern at Morning Point in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I'm going to take you over to the building that has quite a lot of damage from this tornado. This is a assisted living center for people with Alzheimer's disease, people with early onset Alzheimer's starting in the mid-50s all the way up to their mid-90s. There's about 65 people who are living inside this assisted living center in their rooms at night. They had already taken their nighttime medication when the tornado struck, and you can see how heavy damage there is all over this building. What they had to do after midnight is take people in a bus, just like this one back here. We're going to swing back here. One bus, but with another bus and another bus, until they got 65 people out of their rooms. Remember, this is the middle of the night, and took them over to an Embassy Suites that's down the road. So they had to get a hotel room for each individual person. Remember, this is one of the first natural disasters that we've had in the middle of the COVID crisis. So not only do you have all these people isolated in here trying to social distance inside this assisted living center, and with all the challenges of their mental state with Alzheimer's disease, you also have on top of that trying to, at the last minute, move everybody to another facility and get them into their rooms, and they're already in a confused and frightened state. And then to have them wake up in the morning and be in a very different environment that they were. They'll be waking up today not in their rooms here that they're used to, but in the Embassy Suites over there. But as we walk around, you can see just how much damage there is to their facility here and the neighborhood right here. There's an elementary school that had a lot of damage through here. So this was a dangerous nighttime tornado in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And all the people in this facility really had to put in some very creative overtime work in trying to figure out how to move a population of 65 people with Alzheimer's and move them over to a hotel in the middle of the night during a disaster with power lines down. And until just a few minutes ago, the power lines that are down right over here were hot lines, and they were able to turn those off just a few minutes ago. So think about a challenge on top of a challenge on top of a challenge. In Chattanooga, Tennessee, I'm Dave Malkoff, the Weather Channel.
Dave, we certainly appreciate that report here. And of course, that was the damage in Tennessee, but we have significant damage in Mississippi as well. We want to take you to Bassfield and also Soso, Mississippi. And you see that both of these areas have been hard hit by tornadoes. And you see debris as far as the eye can see. And this building, what will happen is the Weather Service will go out. Now, there's a lot of assessments for the Weather Service to do. There's also COVID-19 on top of it. So we have to be patient to find out what the strength of these tornadoes were. They'll look at the type of damage. That's how they can determine what type of tornado it was.